Hey everyone, welcome to Dialog Choices Podcast. Today started with a victory for me. I did it.
The shave and the haircut victory.
No, that's don't confusing callback to things that weren't in an episode to begin with.
It's not a callback. We were like 10 seconds into the episode.
Yeah, but you're referring to something that no one knows about besides 10 people that were already watching the stream at the time and probably wasn't even put in a video anywhere.
I'm confusing all the time. You know I am.
Yeah.
It's me, Colonel RPG.
Yep. You bled into our D&D, and my poor character had to go on an entire odyssey because he was confused by your in-game character bleeding into having your real life bleed into his behaviors. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Yeah, no,
pretty much.
So, what's the victory?
I got my entire day's recordings done before the podcast.
Oh, that is a victory.
And I'm like,
that is a pretty good.
It should be easy. Yeah. I should do it every day. I'm so mad at myself all the time. Being self-employed.
That seems less healthy.
Being self-employed at home is such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
All connected to the internet and so on.
The feeling of when we have victories, you feel worse because you think you should have more victories more often.
It shouldn't be hard.
Is something.
All I have to do is wake up at 8 and then eat breakfast.
That's hard.
And then get
what are you talking about?
Get a half an hour of exercise of some kind. Take a shower.
Oh my gosh.
And then be like, okay, it's 10 maybe or something. Now record 2.5 hours on average per day. And then you're done at fucking 1 p.m. And it's wow, just got to edit and whatever. And what a day ahead of you. You don't get weekends, but whatever. But if I could efficiently do my job, I would have such a different life. Instead, it bleeds through my entire day, and I just eventually get my daily quota done. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'll be I'll start recording.
You need to get 2 chairs, Keith. A chair that is comfy and nice, but doesn't allow you to record. Oh, you do. That's right. But no, you need to change them. That's the thing.
That's just.
Oh. So what you would sit on one chair for normal day-to-day procrastination, and then you'd sit on the other one for just actual recording. So it's it's my game chair now, and it's
I often feel like I just need an office. I go drive to a place and do my work, and then come home, and there's a context that changes your brain, because I just don't have a workplace. I just literally I wake up, get out of bed, and I'm just on my computer, and it's just a tug of war between rewatching a 2-hour H-Bomber guy about Ruby or getting work done.
Yeah.
I did just finish his recent video.
It's
that's why that procrastination feeling is the reason why when I don't have my daytime job, if I'm on vacation or just have a day off, I don't really do much more YouTube stuff than other days. Because on a normal day, I'm working from 9 to 6, and then
it's weird, right? You crunch your YouTube job into the time after your real job, and you somehow get it done. But then you have a whole day off, and you struggle to get the same amount of work done in that time.
Exactly.
I used to be
exactly.
Obviously, it's not better before. It was unhealthy and bad. But
no, for sure.
I had a day job. And I would get an ungodly amount of videos done per day in the time between when I got home from work and when I went to sleep. And then I would just reset the loop back over again. I would drive home from work during my lunch break so that I could actually set the videos to go live. Because I would start the uploads in the morning. I'd record all evening after work, eat some bullshit out of the microwave to keep myself alive, edit the videos, set them to render, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, upload them, go to work, come home during lunch break, and actually set all the thumbnails and titles and make them public videos and so on, and then loop like that every day. And it was fucking trash. But yeah, I was
that's my routine,
stuff
more or
done
less.
Every second.
Yeah, that's because I think the feeling of you can't. It's the feeling of constant pressure. It's turning in an assignment 10 hours after you started doing the assignment.
Yeah, and I always procrastinated all of my homework, and I would I would if I had an essay, I would write it the morning it was due at school. I would arrive at school, sometimes even on the bus, at like normal time, and then in the morning I would just go to the library, write the entire essay in 20 minutes, and get a good grade. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
I was rewarded for this structure. But no, yeah, I have so many competing goals where it's like, oh yeah, everyone has like, oh, here's the YouTube videos I want to catch up on. Here's the Netflix shows or the anime or whatever the fuck, and then I've got like my stack of books that I'm reading in a particular order and I want to get through, and then I want to like try practice. Like I want to try practicing drawing, and I want to try practicing writing fiction and stuff. And it's like, where the fuck does that all go? And turns out it's a lot easier to do that if you can figure out how to trick your brain into getting anything done on time. Because in its purest form, I ironed out my schedule to be really, because I used to just play every new game that fell under a particular umbrella and just kept stacking them, and that'd be this ungodly mess of a schedule. Then years ago, I crunched it down to, no, there's X number of time slots, period, and nothing else goes on top. And then multiplayer stuff started going on top, so that was a lie. But so then I took 2 days off the schedule and put all the multiplayer videos there to recontextualize that as part of the structure of everything. But yeah, overall, it's like, okay, I have 4 main time slots, ignoring the weekend multiplayer video days. Those 4 time slots go up 5 days a week. That is 20 videos per week. So it's like an average, and it's like of the 4 time slots, it's 3 that are half an hour and 1 that's an hour. So it's 2.5 hours per day, 5 days of the week out of 7. It's like there's a quota there, and I can fit that. And like if I could just keep on top of it, like I could get that done, like at least before like 2 or 3 p.m. if I could actually get my life structured correctly. And then suddenly I can like have after work. Even if I waste it, even if I just fuck around and be like, I'm gonna play Overwatch for 4 hours or whatever, it's like people have.
But it's peaceful wasting of time. Like there's a difference
because it hangs over your head. You're constantly
you can't
like,
even enjoy the not doing anything.
Yeah, like I'm always at work, and I don't hate it because I like the stuff I do for work anyway. So it's mostly just the guilt of keeping up with the quota each day or whatever. When I see the fucking schedule get too late, and I'm like get into weird loops of like checking Discord, refreshing Twitter, checking my email, refreshing Twitter, refreshing the YouTube subscription page. Like I'll like get into a loop of just of double checking feeds for who knows what as like a procrastination measure instead of getting something done.
I noticed that as well. My trick is whenever I spot myself doing that, like opening 2 Twitter tabs because the other Twitter tab is not giving me anything interesting. I don't know if that happened to other people, but when I notice that, I'm like, okay, this is the second that I need to do something productive, and I look at my spreadsheet and I say, oh, I need to record Discoalism. Let's do it. Let's record it right now, because if I'm opening the same thing over and over again or something like that, I'm like, I try to build it as a memory in my brain or like a reflex thing that when that happens, that feeling of being like, oh no, I'm double procrastinating. It's time for work. That sort of gut reaction is I think I've trained successfully for that. I do it very frequently, especially on the weekends. Although I've been trying not to record on the weekends. So I've changed my recording schedule around. So now I only do editing on the weekends and I record on weekdays. Because editing is, I know you don't like editing, but for me, it's just it's a different kind of pressure. For one, you can just edit half an episode at a time and just do other things and just spend all day doing random nonsense that you do anyway because it's weekends.
I like editing the idea of like, let's edit a highlight reel, or let's edit like if I ever made like a video essay or some kind of like structured thing that's worth editing in a certain way. Or like when I do, it's a pain in the ass, but when I do those like multiple perspective playthroughs where I record like 3 different people's perspectives and I'm like trying to make creative choices about which perspective to show at a given moment, or ways of showing 2 perspectives at once when times happen simultaneously, or whether I should do like a rewind and like back up and so on and show the other perspective in a different timeline, or just different things like that stuff. But like, wow, here's your 60-hour playthrough of Paper Mario. It's like, just the game exists. It's what it is.
That's the struggle I have.
I'm not interested
in
like trying to make like pacing choices in the editing or whatever.
Yeah, I try my best to avoid as much as possible by just like recording only the chunks that are going to be the episode.
Exactly.
So I'll just like, this
the
is the
live
whole
editing.
episode. Yeah, where you're like, this is the whole episode. If something else happens, like a door rings or something, I cut the recording immediately.
Yes.
And then go do the thing and then go restart the recording.
Yep.
Even if like it breaks the flow, because I don't want to have to remember that at like 30 minutes in a 2-hour video that a doorbell rang, because I'm not going to remember that after I've recorded 6 other hours of content. Like,
Yeah, it's too hard to edit Let's Play content that's like hours long per day, unless you literally just sit down and rewatch it. And I don't like that. I don't like me.
Yeah.
And I don't like my content.
Yeah.
And I don't like listening to myself talk for hours at a time, or like hyper
On double
analyzing every
speed as well, because obviously.
yeah, or like or like
again,
analyzing myself, like fucking like, wow, you sure just fucking spewed out some bullshit there just to fill time, didn't you? Like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear myself. I don't want to hear myself.
No, but that's
at all.
the thing, though. That's the thing. Like, especially with the field timing thing. At least I've found that for me. I usually, obviously, the type of games that I play are prone to rambling, because I ramble about the things, and obviously, I don't. All I'm saying is I don't need to fill time very often, but there are some instances where it does happen, like especially with loading screens or traveling around. Some games are very slow when you travel around and you know where you need to go. So it's the kind of places where I just need a cut in here. So there's less of a feel for me to be like, let me think about some insightful take that I can have on what just happened. And instead of doing that, I actually stop talking and I stop the recording as well.
Yeah, you make you also live edit. You make like the conscious choice.
I do a mixture. Because I do have to listen to the whole thing again.
Fuck that.
yeah,
I'm not
that's-
investing twice as much time. That's insane.
It gets faster.
It makes a lot more
down
sense.
to like 10 minutes an episode.
It makes a lot more sense when you have another person
All right, because you listen to yourself fast forward.
editing. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
fast
hate
forward.
fast forward speech of all forms. I don't consume
it's
any
very
podcasts
complicated.
or YouTube videos in fast speed. It's all normal.
It's very complicated especially if you're like trying to figure out if you're making any sense. But usually that's not my problem. Usually did I burp very loudly while this character was talking? Usually that's what I'm looking for.
Nah,
Leave that in.
Leave that in. Seriously, sometimes I just crack myself up. I'm like, oh my god, I'm a pig.
No, there's
then I
parts where
cut
I'm quiet because people are talking, and so if I see a weird little spike of noise in the wave, like I just look at it visually. Like I'll often just delete the audio from me while the game is talking, unless I see there's actually a part I had something to say. Because I don't have to worry about whether or not like a weird like cracked knuckle or like a popped chair sound like got in. But I also have like a noise gating that catches most things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a lot of choices. But like I found, yeah, like with the more and more when I get experienced with certain games, I make live editing choices and intentionally choose to do certain things off camera. Like Subnautica, I'm playing right now, and it's like, okay, obviously you film whenever you're gonna go explore in a new direction and see what's there and like scan those new monsters and get attacked by something and spooky things happen and here's new tech, and then you go back and it's like, oh, let's build that new tech I got because and I've never built it before, so let's build it on camera. But then it's like, let's create a filing box organization system for all the resources on the walls inside of this one room of my base. And it's like, okay, that's some off-camera shit. Or like, oh, I could use 6 more quartz, and I should probably top off my hunger meters before I start the episode. Like, I'll do this off-camera maintenance and stuff in between. The funny thing is that whenever I mention this kind of stuff, and whenever I edit basically anything, inevitably there's always feedback on that. There's 2 different things. One, people just see a cut and like, he cheated at this game, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I used the fucking restroom. Jesus, calm down. Like every fucking time I pee in a puzzle game, it's going to lead to accusations.
You're cheating.
That was literally my entire Witness playthrough. It was like, all right, I'm not gonna do this
Yeah.
anymore. Like every single comment was like, you just cheated. And it's like, all right,
No.
like I don't need to cheat at the Witness.
Yeah, or it's like, oh, I get stuck in Portal Reloaded. I'd get stuck on a puzzle for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I have like a quota in my head. Like I want to have like 2 or 3 rooms get solved per episode. Like to have, that's like a vague imaginary idea of like it's an arbitrary milestone that hopefully enforces some level of pacing, so stuff happens every episode. because it's hard to like make director's choices about exactly what part of the like epiphany process and bashing your head against the wall process to keep and so on. But if I'm just not solving enough stuff per episode, then I'm like, okay, we're gonna trim this. And so like if there's a whole part where I literally just keep going back and forth between two rooms for like 10 minutes and then like no new thing happens and I don't come up with a new thing to try, and I'm just kind of like re-examining everything over and over again and like going in mental circles, I'll probably trim that out. But then people like would be like, oh, it's a cut, and then he figures it out after the cut. Suspicious. And it's like, yeah, because I cut out the like part where nothing was happening. And I cut to the part where something finally happened. It's not a fucking mystery. But on the other hand, it's just like, this is the boring aspect of like, I make the choice to edit out certain things in other games like Subnautica and whatnot, and they're like, can I get the unabridged version? And it's like, I made a very deliberate choice of like, this will be bad content. I will not include this in the video. I'm not going to be like, and here's the full version, which sucks.
With the unabridged version with 5 minutes of you going,
or
and doing that, it's just being like,
it's like double worse, because it's like on one hand,
there's no commentary.
Yes, because like on one hand, it's like I knew that part of the playthrough was going to not be very interesting, so that's why I wanted to remove it in the first place. But on the other hand, it's also like I knew that in advance. So I made the conscious choice at the time. So the whole point was to save myself from commentating, because having to commentate on something that's boring or tedious or repetitive or irritating makes you less happy playing the game and doing the playthrough. And also, like, if you're consciously like, I'm not going to include this, then why would you be commentating over it? So the unabridged version doesn't have commentary. It's me just sitting there and I fart eventually or something. Like, that's it. That's the video. Like, there's nothing to... People and then people will be like, oh, you released unabridged videos before. It's like, it's a very different context, because all of my unabridged videos are like fucking Ludwig the Holy Blade from Bloodborne, 60 attempts. It's like, obviously I'm commentating on every attempt because it might be the one I win on, and it's like then the spiral into madness of losing over and over again. So then obviously I make two cuts. The funny thing is the unabridged version is always abridged, because I always cut out the run back every single run. So even the unabridged versions of those videos aren't unabridged, because I still trim them to make them they're just all the attempts. They're not actually unabridged in their entirety, because that'd be twice as long and boring. But yeah, like I make it's like here's a show full of half-an-hour episodes, so I make a half-an-hour episode of that part of the game, but also release like a fucking hour or 2 hour nightmare marathon of my many, 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 many failures for the people that want to see the spiral into madness and they've got time. But that's a different thing.
Hear that, guys? You're not getting the full video. There's still an unabridged version.
Yeah, you could have seen me bored walking back to the base over and over
For
again.
me, I've started this whole editing a little bit more, or editing not live, a while back when I started editing my streams into Let's Plays. And I think that, of course, there's always a tendency that people will be like, I want to see the freshest episodes, or I want to have input on the comments and just be like, I give you tips, and then I see that in the next episode or the episode after the tip coming to fruition, and that's fun. But obviously when people realize that they can just go watch me play Vampire. I'm playing Vampire right now. Man, that game is tricky. And people realize they can just go and watch me live and have that experience live immediately. I don't think they're getting the best sort of representation of the game when they watch me live, because something that happens when with live streaming, at least for me, is because I engage with the audience. There's going to be a lot of stuff like, hey, how's it going? That question, that's a good question. And talking about other games and just, about random stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the game. And me talking over the characters because I know I'm going to edit it. So if somebody asks something midway through a dialogue that lasts for 15 minutes, I'm just going to talk over it. And so I think it's the unabridged version. The original experience is not necessarily, at least for me, it's not the best. Because then the thing is, there's also things that happen to other people in Let's Plays that everybody knows this. It's like somebody not realizing that you could jump, or somebody that not being able to, not using a certain feature of the game that's just fundamental for combat or something. Is like, and it can be frustrating.
Nobody wants to become the Cuphead journalist.
But I'm not saying, the thing is, I'm not saying that you should erase
for a long time and everyone saw. I'm gonna upload it unabridged.
Well,
I mean, he did upload the video of that. He could have just not. Like,
well, but I'm not saying that I edit it out if I don't if I don't understand it, or if I do something wrong. Obviously, since I'm doing it on stream, people will call me out sooner. But that's even beside the point. What happens though with edited Let's Plays is that you can edit around the mistake. And for example, where maybe you didn't figure it out, and you didn't hide that you didn't figure it out until later in the Let's Play, but you just maybe cut out the 3 or 4 minutes of you rambling about how the game is bad, or the going back and forth between 2 locations where nothing really happens.
Avoiding
you can
the
still
outcome
convey
of, maybe having an infamous part 29 of Outer Wilds that you get a weekly angry comment on for the rest of your life because you didn't choose to be dishonest and edit out your mistakes.
What happened? I don't remember. I haven't watched your Outer Wilds yet.
Well, have you played the game
Spoilers?
already?
Oh, Outer Wilds. I thought you were talking about Outer Worlds.
No, Wilds.
Sorry, I have played Outer. Yeah. I have.
It's
but that's a spoiler, though.
Yeah, no, it's the.
Okay, let's do it fast. 1 minute. 1 minute of spoilers.
Well, no, it's the part of the game that's the most like the game Portal.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the thing you have to kind of solve.
That was tricky.
And I had some mistakes, and boy, I hear about them forever, all the time, every day.
Did you think it always teleported to the same place?
I had other problems. I don't want to get into the spoiling mechanics of Outer Wilds, but
Oh, okay.
that's the whole game. That's just spoiling how the game works. But it's like it's just
I spent a couple of hours
having
there.
Jesus.
Yeah, I was doing it on stream. That's the thing. Like it's different. Streaming is different. It's just I was just messing around.
But I was having trouble, and also the game has a time limit built into it. So those two things don't mix well if you get frustrated.
Yeah.
Having a time limit every single time is rough. But yeah, that was an experience, and I'm reminded of it every day. Sometimes I might just close the comments on that video, and then people call me cowards and complain about it on other videos. But like, it kind of sours my experience of the game a little bit to have people complaining about it all the time, and I'm like, I like this game. But my primary exposure to this game now is people making me unhappy. It's like fucking Nier Automata, where the final bitter taste of that game was just people being furious with me for not deleting my save, and it's like. Yeah,
what?
Because I'm here to make what the fuck? Why would I delete my save, you fucking madmen?
Why would anyone do that?
Also, it's an optional thing. So
for what?
Yeah, but
there's this context. Yeah,
it's like the most disliked video in my entire fucking channel because I didn't delete my save. You fucking hysterically insane mad people! What the fuck is wrong with you?
You need to make a comment and pin it and saying that exact thing. You fucking hysterical mad people.
That fucking video is more controversial than any of my political opinions.
Yeah. Gamers are weird, man.
I think they're bored more than anything.
Oh, man. Gaming is weird. I was watching earlier today. Gamers are just... I was watching a reaction video about... have you seen this new what's the word for it? It's like a kerfuffle around Aloy's design for the new Zero. What is it called? It's not Zero Escape.
Horizon Zero Dawn. I have
but
not.
The new one.
They announced a 2, huh? Yeah, that was actually a while ago.
There's controversy over her design.
Her design, I can send you a picture, but basically it's somebody saying that apparently, supposedly, they're making her look less feminine.
It's that conversation again. The one about how BioWare characters are intentionally, all the women are intentionally unattractive they say unironically at Josephine.
I met her today for the first time. She doesn't wear pants.
Well, she's like a cave person, isn't she?
Is what?
No,
Wait,
she's
what?
like a.
Oh, you mean
No,
Aloy?
no, Josephine is the. Oh, Aloy.
Yeah.
No, Aloy might
You
wear
meant
pants.
Josephine.
I would have
I
remembered.
was like, wait, what?
Oh no, sorry.
No, from Dragon Age 2. I think maybe
Oh,
later.
Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I met her in Dragon Age 2. Right?
Dragon Age Josephine
Is it a different character?
Montilliet.
Oh, it's not Josephine. I'm sorry. It's somebody else.
Okay, you're thinking of okay. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I mean, some of the characters in the Inquisition were also in 2, and it's like that's a part of the. I think Cassandra. Yeah, because
it Cassandra?
the framing device of 2 is Cassandra and
Isabella
Varric arguing with each other.
Sorry.
It's Cassandra's interrogation of Varric is like the framing device of 2, and they're both party members in Inquisition.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
but I was like,
That's
so
where
I
I
was,
know her
I was
from.
ready to believe that Josephine was in 2, and I just forgot. But I'm like, I don't.
No,
think
I was
so.
thinking. I was thinking of Isabella. I mean, the name is similar because it's Portuguese names.
Yeah, but no, this is an
Similar
ongoing
sound.
thing. Stephanie has strong opinions about this because she specifically likes ugly women in media and loves when people get.
What?
She just loves.
No, they're not ugly.
No, but I mean,
Tell
like,
me one person that is ugly in Dragon Age.
No, I mean, like she's strongly like in the opposite direction of this because there's so much
Oh, I
fucking
see.
scrutiny of exactly how women have to behave and how they have to look and so on in both life and in media. So she likes people that are just like grungy and have piercings and they're sexually liberated and they just do shit and who gives a fuck and there's
That's
aspects.
the hot stuff.
Like we read I read a comic borrowed from her called Sacred Heart, and I literally got to like page 30 or 40, I think, before I realized the protagonist was even female. I just assumed otherwise because there just wasn't that much overtly calling out to gender, and it's like, yeah, it's just kind of nice. There's other things for people to be than just performing their gender for you all the time. And there's an element of
no.
that. There's a lot of that with with what's it called, Thirsty Mermaids. But they just have completely different.
Oh, you've talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, Thirsty Mermaids
I think
is
we're just
great.
It's
making
only
up
women,
names
isn't
now.
it? Yeah. Is it only women? Is it the one for only women? Oh, not for where all the characters are women.
Thirsty Mermaids is a story where they're three. It's like a riff on Little Mermaid a little bit, where there's three mermaids, two like kind of regular mermaids and one sea witch that they it's like she learn new spells and they use them irresponsibly because they want to get booze, and so they like get
Fair.
they use a spell to grow to be human and get legs like Ariel did basically. But just because they want booze from the surface, because they're having trouble getting it from shipwrecks all the time, and this backfires when they don't really know how to undo it, and it's just a really fun, pretty literal fish out of water story that's a lot of fun to read, and I had a great time with it. And none of the women are really the like stereotypical like hot character design, even though they're all pretty great in their own ways. Like you have
But the thing with the stereotypical design is just that it's really not about. All they mean, I think, these people that complain, is not really about the design of the character. It's just about the amount of eyeliner and concealer they have. Everything else is sort of like, do they have concealer and eyeliner? Then they're pretty, and that's it.
I really hate.
big
I
boobs,
really
I suppose,
hate that
that
every
also.
time like a Resident Evil game comes out, somebody on Twitter like fixes the women because they're all like all the women.
Resident Evil games where all the women are super hot, like unreasonably so.
They're all already really hot, but always somebody feels the need to like fix the women and like puff up like elements of them and put more makeup on them and make them put more like get more of like a fuck me face and so on, and just like more overtly bizarrely sexualized and so on. You got people that are like, we got to have there's been similar stuff going on with the insistence
Aloy.
on
Exactly
well,
that,
there's Aloy, but there's also like way weirder. There's a whole, because I got exposed to this from fucking Monster Hunter Rise. There's a whole subsection of people that want to include more severe gender dimorphism in the monsters. So all the the monsters to be more overtly female, which almost inevitably all the shitty artists are like adding like pink or like ruffles to the designs somehow of like the lizards, and you're like, I can't tell who's joking in these situations, but you all worry me.
This is especially in animals where the gender dimorphism is actually worth talking about, where humans were basically all look the same, but in animals it's really enormous because usually the female is enormous, or they have like a completely different coat or a big appendage at the back if they're an insect or something. There's like because of the ovipositor is like very prominent in crickets or something. And they, of course, they go for the gender dimorphism that is very specific to this
it's very human
for humans.
I would even go so far as to call them bad fans, because like there are examples in Monster Hunter of gender dimorphism. It's relatively rare, like in Pokemon, where like only like a couple of them actually have it. But like the most obvious examples are Rathalos, the mascot sort of character, which is like this boring. He's a pretty boring monster, honestly. He's just a dragon, but he's like the title character for like the whole franchise, kind of. Rathalos is specifically male because Raytheon is female, and they're just different. Rathalos is like gray, red, and Raytheon is like purplier, and that's it. They have more poison attack, and that's kind of mostly it. And then like you have Diablos, which Diablos can be either gender, but Black Diablos is always specifically. It's basically just a Diablos, but it's a Black Diablos is a female Diablos that's in heat, and so it's just a lot harder to fight or something. But like those are some of the only examples, and they're specifically not like pink with flowers and whatever, and it's wearing a pretty dress. But like these people will bafflingly miss that entire element of the game they're actually playing already, and be like, no, we gotta gender the fuck out of these things, but in like really human ways. And I'm like, what are you doing? I don't understand how you got here.
I mean, I think Rathalos would be I think Monster Hunter would be a better game if all the dragons had like dresses on. It would be a much better game.
It's the old comics trick of just putting big eyelashes on anything, and it's immediately female.
The fucking weekly debate of somebody being mad about She-Hulk or something, and then giving her a makeover to be more female or something. It happens on Twitter like every fucking week.
I hate that. She-Hulk's like one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, but she's not fuckable enough according to that guy specifically.
But that's not what I want. I just want like a Hulk that is a lawyer that also beats the shit out of people. That sounds amazing. Like what a great design. Like Bruce Banner's such a boring character concept. Like, scientist man, now mad.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's most characters.
Yeah, but it's just so, I don't know, it just seems so generically boring. Whereas like the idea of a lawyer monster is like, what the hell? Like what is it? like a societal monster by day and like horror monster by night. Like
he's the greatest horror, a lawyer.
Yeah. Like it's I don't know if you've ever seen what's it called? Venture Brothers. But there's like one of the supervillains in there is like a lawyer and a supervillain, and like the joke is always like that's the worst worst thing imaginable is like a lawyer and a supervillain in one person. Like
how can one body contain so much evil?
Exactly. So like the idea of like She-Hulk is great because it is that. It's like, oh my god, she's like a monster. And then you're like, oh no, but she actually is a monster. Like she could turn into the Hulk. Like shit. I wasn't ready for that. Anyways, don't do that. Don't make her sexy. It's not the point.
People just really like to control women.
Well, you can do that
and tell them how to exist, and
you can do that by making your own women
to tell them whenever they're being themselves wrong.
But the thing, what Andrew is saying, that they can just draw their own, the power, the control that Keith is talking about is the sort of it's the control of the what women should look like as a stereotypical thing, allowing anything that deviates from that and has any sort of popularity is a threat to the normal. You know what I mean? So it's not, you don't fight it. That sort of mentality, you don't fight things by adding your own. Oh, look at my more of the same. No, you need to suppress any deviation. That's why they act like that, knowingly or unknowingly. A lot of them, well, maybe not from Twitter derps, but and certainly not in things that don't matter like video games. But a lot of the sort of gender normativity, I suppose, comes from the lack of variety, and you can't fix, or you can't make it if there's variety, the solution isn't to add your own. The solution is to stop the variety if you want to not there be variety. I don't know if I'm coming across.
I guess I'm more confused by the idea that with a character in anything, you don't want it to be more interesting than sexual. Like a good example of One Piece is like the best female characters in One Piece are the ones that don't look like women. Like the ones that are just crazy body types and weird proportions are like the best characters because they're
maybe
just
that's because
but they're more free. They don't have to like they don't have to like conform into this like, oh, it has to be sexy. They have to like have specific outfits and have to have specific poses. It's like, no, there's just a girl with like a head that's the size of a truck and she just jumps around and does things, and you don't have to like care about how this doesn't make sense, or like how does she put clothes on? Do clothes have to like have giant holes at the top to fit her giant truck head? It doesn't matter. It's fun. And like, I don't know. Then you look at like, you can just copy paste 100 different of the like hot girl bodies, and you're like, okay, I don't know what you could put a silhouette, and I don't know which one that is. Like I don't know. They all look the same. But then the moment you like do the other characters, you like, yeah, I don't know.
It's the struggle when you get to games like World of Warcraft and so on, where you just have like massively divergent character designs for the dudes, and then the women are almost the same body with different heads on it. You're like,
yeah,
all
like
right, come on.
I remember EverQuest specifically didn't do that. So you look at like the ogres, and it's like, okay, here's an ugly ogre guy.
Have spine problems like the male orcs do.
Yeah, like EverQuest is like, here's an orc, here's an orc female, and they both look the same, but one has boobs. Like that's it. They're just the same body type because that's what they are. That's what orcs look like. You know, just everything is like the same exact body type, but one of them had genitalia that was different. That was like the whole basis of it. So you don't have like, ooh, sexy orc, or ooh, sexy, what's the Journali, or what's, I don't know how to pronounce that name.
I mean, the history behind a lot of the inclusivity, I say inclusivity, but the inclusion probably is a better word. The history behind the inclusion of women in fiction, well, specifically 20th century fiction, because things get muddy from before that, because it depends a lot on, well, what kind of fiction we're dealing with. But especially in cinema, the inclusion of women is always with a role of serving a goal that is specific to their gender. So that's why you see, well, not always, I'm generalizing obviously, but that's why you see a lot of female characters being written. Every single one of their lines is about something about who they are dating, or whether they would date somebody, or what their needs as a woman are, or what they're going to do in their day. And it's always something specific to them being women because it's representative of their society or something. And usually, and it's not like it's all like, sometimes it's done in some really appalling ways, obviously, but it doesn't have to be done in an appalling way. It can be done with a reason for writers and movie makers and all that sort of stuff to include women and create female characters with that in mind, to build their world and flesh out their world and flesh out their characters. But it's always with like, when it's a man who's a default, and that's, you tell a story and you make it a man, because if you made it a woman, the story would have to be something a little bit, it could be the same story, but you'd need to make it a little bit, you need to explain some other stuff. And the difficulty in in a society that we live in, and obviously things have gotten better, but they still have a long way to go. But the difficulty in the minds of a lot of well-intentioned people who are creating stories is always the capacity to stop thinking about women as inherently something special. Their gender for them is somehow different than men. Their relationship with their gender is somehow different than the relationship men have with their own gender or any other gender. Because I don't know. I get it's so obvious though in video games specifically. I don't know why,
There's
but it
an
happens
element
a
of
lot.
like you're always being tested on whether or not you're gendering correctly in a weird level of scrutiny. Why they? Okay, so you linked a thing.
I hate that picture. I hate it so
that
fucking
is the
much.
fucking a fan like fixing Aloy, and I can't help but notice.
It's so bad.
On top of everything else, you can just always notice they always make them smile.
Of course,
They always take a
Yeah.
non-smiling picture and force them to smile. And in this one, it's a horrifying thing because this is like it looks like she looks like a receptionist, she's a combat she's an action game hero, and the fixed version makes her look like she's like, oh yeah, and how can I help you here at Verizon?
Yeah,
like,
she looks
so
like
perfectly like a fucking receptionist, exactly.
the stock photo of like an auto insurance company. I was like being like, we're here to
Yeah.
serve, and there's this nice
Oh
lady
yeah,
smiling.
she's
with
gonna
her.
sell you insurance or something. It's such a huge glaring
wait.
smile. But what I noticed with all the Resident Evil fixes and so on is that they always get change them from being like I'm in an action game, so I've got like a kind of a frowny face to like, here's my little seductive upturned lip because it's a little smile now. Like they always have to fix the facial expression, quote unquote fix. It's not even just the appearance of the character. They have to change the personality of the character. And it's like at some point you just don't like the game. You could just leave. Go away.
Aloy, I haven't played. I've only watched your Let's Play of Horizon Zero Dawn, so
Yeah,
that's my
I don't like
exposure
the
to
game
Horizon
very
Zero
much.
Dawn. But I think some side quests are not very well written, but generally I like the writing. Specifically, one thing in the characterization of Aloy is her relationship to her gender and the way other people see her as a woman as well. Yeah, I think it's really well done. It's because when it's not necessary, it's never brought up whatsoever. And I think the character design is. I mean, she does have the braids in her hair, which are a pain in the ass to make. Although I don't know if those are protective braids, because some people I know there's the braids that people use to protect their hair rather than just to
make
look
it
pretty.
longer.
I know I don't have braids in my hair. I know how to make braids though.
I've heard of people
but
tying
they're
their hair
painting-
in certain ways because it helps it not fall out or something, and their hair can grow
Do
longer.
people know
that
how
way.
long that? Do people know how long that takes? Like the amount of time it would take to look
Right.
like that is so ridiculous compared to the world she lives in. She's gonna sit in front of the fucking mirror for like 2 hours, get her face done, and then go on a fucking world-saving adventure? No, she's not. Same with Resident Evil. Oh yeah, zombies are attacking. Let me just go to the bathroom real quick and like put on my eye makeup and put on my powder and then just hope that this rain and mud and blood and all this stuff doesn't mess up my makeup in the entire like 8-hour journey I'm about to have. Meanwhile, like
oh my
Ethan can
God.
literally like wake up in a fucking Louisiana house and not do anything, and he's just fine. I've never seen the dude's face, but apparently it's okay. I don't have to see his face. It doesn't matter.
He looks
at
like
all.
Ben Shapiro. It's
Like-
kind of a bummer. people hacked the game and found his face.
But that's what I'm saying.
no.
Like, but you had to hack the game to find his face, and at no point has a single person been like, "We should fix that. We should make him have a face that looks a certain way."
Yeah,
Like,
the fan edit
people just
adds all this
accepted-
makeup that wouldn't be
It's always
available
makeup.
in
Always.
this setting because it's
Yeah, like
like
It's just
it's like
it's
setting
brutal.
breaking makeup, like it just destroys it. But also, yeah, like they delete her freckles and like what she looks like as a person and give her a different face structure. It reminds me how
she
when
looks,
I was looking
she looks
at,
like a synth. She looks like the character from Detroit Beyond Human, and
Yeah.
you're like, I'm sorry, is this?
She
I don't-
looks like I guess it is a sci-fi game, but she looks like she's from a very different kind of sci-fi game.
But
in the
isn't
edit.
she fighting the robots? I thought she's not a robot. Like that's the whole.
No.
So why does
No,
she
I
look
don't
like a
think she is.
robot now? What is?
Yeah, no.
Like, what?
It does. It reminds me of when I was playing KOTOR, and I looked at the Nexus mods page to see if there was anything interesting in there or whatever. And the most popular mod, and to the guy's credit, he did go and he up-resed and fixed or whatever every single character, every single party member in the game. But the audience has chosen, and yeah, it's like the most popular mod by far for KOTOR is fixing Bastila. To make her like like more beautiful and more high detail and more like up-resed and modern and so on. So there's a bunch of fucking weirdos that played this whole game with just an updated Bastila character model and no one else because they are not comparably similarly popular mods. People just are downloading Bastila and not updating any of the other character models in the game, even though the guy went through the trouble of making one for every character. And I'm just like, guys, what is
not even Juhani, which is the one that actually needs a remake? Because she looks like the other.
She's pretty blurry.
Yeah,
I don't know. Mods are different to me. I'm okay if you want to waste your time and make a mod.
But it's representative of how people feel.
But I guess I don't like the idea of someone saying, "Oh, this is messed up. I need to fix it," or because again, a mod is something ideally you're making this for yourself, but a fan edit implies that they're like fixing, like they always say they're fixing something, or there's like something inherently wrong with the old one. It's like, okay, you can say this isn't what I want this instead, but you can't say that what they made is wrong because this is clearly this is designed on purpose. This isn't. Someone didn't sit down and accidentally make this character look like this. This takes a lot of time, effort, energy, and hours. But this is on purpose.
I don't think it is in the case of Resident Evil. I think they made them look too sort of supermodel-y, honestly. Both in the case of Resident Evil 2 and 3. I think like it's unreasonable. The way they look, both in the way they present. Obviously, the characters can be modeled however they want.
Oh yeah, like in the actual Resident Evil 3 remake, like the actual Jill that's actually in the game is like drop dead gorgeous and an impossible standard for women, and like she looks incredible. And then we need to fix this. She needs like more teased lashes, and she needs like more. Yeah, she needs a different eye color and like lip gloss, and let's clean up some of that dirt on her face. And it's like they can't. It's never enough. They even when they get exactly what they seemingly want, they still like now let's edit this and fix it. And this isn't a weird thing to do.
Oh my god! Fix her hair the same for Overwatch?
Her hair looks
I wonder if they fixed the Overwatch characters.
I mean,
they probably have. I mean, there's some. Let's not go there.
I don't really know what I feel like that's kind of a waste. I think Overwatch is already cartoonishly sexualized on some characters.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to think of. Like what would be the most
Overwatch
extreme.
had its own controversies.
Yeah.
Or a bunch of very normal people were very mad at Tracer getting a different pose, and then argued that here's one where you can see Hanzo's butt. It's exactly the same. I'm an adult with a functioning brain. It's like,
though there was also the inverse where people were mad that Mei was thinner in a skin, and it was like, okay. Guys.
It's like here's an entire thing where somebody has like spandex and is specifically like showing you her butt in a very specific pose where the entire point is to point at her butt. And even like the New Frame Plus, the guy that used to do extra credits, Dan, like he points out like from an animation perspective, like every part about her pose was angled in a way where all of it points, like the direction of the action points at her butt from every part of her body. Like the pose is designed all for butt. And then like Hanzo is like this guy in like really baggy clothes that just happens to be facing away from the camera. And people are like, it's exactly the same. It's a butt shot. And I'm like, how do you dress yourself? How the fuck do you function as a person if you think this is a point that's big enough to point it online? I don't know.
It's less about it being a point and more about it not being contested. Like, you say the thing. You say it in an echo
chamber where no one will be like actually disagreeing with you, and so you just get Reddit karma or whatever.
That would be scary.
Like I had that It's because discourse is so fucking poisoned, and we're adding to it right now. But I had that tweet a while. I had that tweet a while back where I was image browsing, and like in related images, I just randomly got this picture from Mandalorian that just had a bunch of. It was clearly about like the Mandalorian arguments about like armor or whatever the fuck, and somebody like got a picture of a bunch of stormtroopers and circled their cod pieces, and I'm like. I can imagine the whole conversation surrounding this where somebody thought this image was a salient point about like, see, the men are sexualized, look at all these dicks. And like they got fucking open up a picture of stormtroopers and Microsoft Paint and draw little red circles scraggly around each dick of the fucking stormtrooper armor. And they're like, see, I got you, I've defeated you, Reddit. I like to imagine they're actually in an argument with somebody and think that's a big gotcha, but the reality is that they're probably posting in a subreddit somewhere full of people that already agree with them, and so they'll get rewarded for having just the shittest brain take.
Yeah, Reddit, any upvote based social media is complicated because it does reward the. You see, even like you may not even have come up with it. Maybe they saw another picture that was maybe even better. It doesn't matter, but they saw another picture trying to make the same point, and they thought, oh, I can make this one that I came up with right now, but it's the same point effectively, but they just draw another picture and post it, and that's just so happens to be the one that goes viral. That's representative of the whole community or whatever, of the old argument. Or so, and the thing is, if it were just, oh no, we're not all the same, that was just happened to be the one that we voted the most, even though that doesn't actually constitute the defense. But even if it were a situation where social media emphasizes the worst rather than emphasizing the best, the problem is it's a self-replicating machine, because the people who get into those communities because of all the kerfuffle around the issues, they see those most upvoted messages and they see those arguments, and obviously they agree, otherwise they wouldn't be joining that, and so it just attracts the so let's just call it the bad crowd. If imagine they were making a point of a more sane point about how men are also sexualized or whatever, instead of being just about the Mandalorians. You know what I mean? I don't know if I made my point, if I came across clear.
What you're saying is every man needs to be big, buff, sexy boys, just like Gears of War, and every girl needs to look like synthetic Barbie dolls.
I think that some people honestly make that argument, but I don't.
I'm sure somebody makes that argument, but
no, I think no. I don't mean that argument. I mean, I think honestly, some people believe that men are also over-sexualized in media, just the same as women. And obviously there are beauty patterns, or beauty standards, I should say, for all people. But the thing is, the way it affects men and the way it affects women is left completely out of the conversation. Because you can't just come up with the pictures. Obviously, yes, men in cinema and in games are very beautiful, just the same as women, generally speaking. And obviously those are beauty standards that we as a society acknowledge. But the way it affects men and the way it affects women is very different, because society treats the bodies of individual people, us, the viewers, whether we are men or women or other genders, it treats our bodies differently. I go for 5 weeks or 6 weeks without looking in a mirror, and I just sort of wash up, and I don't even comb because my hair is short, and by the time I look in a mirror, because I want to check if my hair needs cutting or something, and then I cut it myself, and just all the worst personal care ever. Nobody has ever called me out in any of my streams. In fact, I remember getting compliments, being like, "Oh, your beard is nice," and it's very nice, thank you very much. But I have the least care with my looks that anybody, well, it's not the least that anybody could have, but I have nothing. It's nothing in comparison with any woman I know, whatsoever. And I know that every time I go out with friends, I don't do it anymore because COVID, but anytime I go out and I know the work it takes to get ready, and I know the work it doesn't take for me to get ready, because I don't care. But I have that. Like, the reason why I don't care is because society doesn't impose that on me. right? And so,
Well, I
that
guess it
aspect
depends on
is-
what you want, though. I feel like society imposes
sure,
that on
yeah.
you when it comes to like looking for partners. There can be weird expectations where again, your biases or like the things that you like could be swayed by the media you consume. But I mean, no one's gonna like roll up in their car next to you and say, "Hey, you should really like cut your beard. You would look prettier." Or like, "Hey,
Exactly. But
like,
they do that
could
to
you lift
women.
up your jeans a little bit?" Like, but that's I don't know. It's I think there's probably just a difference in like I don't know. There's like difference in respect. Maybe there's just a difference
Yeah.
in
yeah,
like
it's misogyny basically. At the end of the day,
yeah, but like it's just like a
But
different culture.
But
I
it's
don't
on
know.
the other side of the argument. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not about the representation in media; it's about the effect it has, and it's never argued about. Nobody ever says that Aloy looking that way has more of an effect than Superman looking the way he looks. Nobody like Superman isn't. I don't. I'm actually not a big Superman buff, but isn't he like supposed to be the perfect looking human, stuff like that? Isn't he like? Wasn't he designed to be like the most beautiful man and just look at him and all that?
I mean, to an extent, he is the ideal guy. He's like in perfect shape. He has a perfect chin. No
He takes
blemishes.
his glasses off when he gets super good.
He doesn't
it's
wear
perfect.
glasses. He puts fake
Doesn't-
glasses on to
even
pretend
better.
like he's.
He's
Because
the
the
perfect
idea
man.
is that his outfit is supposed to be him downgrading himself to disguise himself.
Yeah.
So-
that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
So the outfit he has on in the press office is like not an attractive man outfit. He looks like a dork.
because he has
And then when
glasses
he-
on, as we well know.
He has glasses. He tucks his shirt in. He has like
Oh,
a
no.
tie. Like what a chump. And then like he
Yeah.
goes and changes into like a onesie pajama, and now he's like the best man ever. But
But like nobody. It's how often do you hear people be like, "That guy's not hot because he doesn't look like Superman" or something? That's like
I mean, I feel like again it depends. I can't really gauge.
the,
'cause I don't
all I'm saying
hang
is the
around him.
level of the level that is required of men in terms of the way we look is just nowhere near the same. And the method, the reasons why they should be pretty obvious, but it's just that's if the beauty industry is for women, it's literally called the beauty industry, and it is for women. And obviously, men can use beauty products as
dudes
well.
get biased
but just
on
that-
such a low standard
yeah.
for so long that then there's like a whole like industry around like teaching them how to clean themselves up for other people when they need to. And even then it's just like it's like this rote thing
basis
like, hey,
minimum.
we're all wearing the same suit, right? That's good. All right, I did it right. Like that's the level of thing going on.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a weird difference where like conformity for men is a lot more appealing, whereas uniqueness for women is better. Like women should
also that
they need to like
That's
sell
interesting.
themselves in a different way. Like they need to be different from each individual, but also follow the same kind of patterns. Like if you look at all the different fan edits, they always have the same consistency where they have the dark eyeliner around the eyes, or they have lipstick on. Like there's expectations for
They're also always
Like some-
wider.
well
Oh, I didn't even
I mean-
notice that. That's true.
They
Yeah.
always lighten their skin really noticeably, and it's like, okay. Tell me more.
I mean, there is a there is a little bit of that for obvious reasons. Although I don't really understand it with Resident Evil. I don't like. Isn't that just because it's in a dark environment, so the colors would be different? I don't.
We're looking
whatever.
at specific pictures. Andrew is
Yeah,
talking about specific. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, in some of these pictures, it's like they're already that skin color. They just are under like a neon light, and so it makes
Yeah.
them look different. Like that's
The color
Yeah,
corrected.
in that
It's
Claire
it's a very
fixing
weird
picture. If you zoom out, she just looks like she's glowing because Leon would be
Yeah.
right next to
Yeah.
her with the same dim lighting that the pictures actually are from, and she would just be like, somebody's trying to spotlight on specifically Claire's face. Why is she so bright?"
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I assume that's just people like thinking they messed up the colors, like some kind of professional artist who gets
Those are
paid
the
to do this
people
for a
that
living
failed the
just
dress
messed
test.
up.
Those are the people that think the dress is white and gold. Because they
Oh,
don't
no.
think...
The
'cause
Dress.
yeah. The dress that
I
was...
remember.
Yeah, the blue and black dress that was always blue and black and literally was blue and black. And from the moment I saw a picture, I'm like, that's just a blue and black dress with like a fucking lens flare on it. Like,
It's blue and gold, Keith.
it was
It's
literally
blue and
always
gold.
blue and black, both literally and in what eyes are processed how do if
Yes,
you
but
are
open in
competent
Photoshop.
at looking at things.
Open it in Photoshop and you'll see it's blue and gold.
Yeah, but that's dumb brain. That's what I was talking about.
That is true. That's true.
Your brain. That's your brain
but-
not being good enough at telling what
Not
things
at
look
even
like.
processing.
That's like
Yeah.
looking at the Claire picture of the promotional photo of Claire and Leon and being like, "Why are Claire and Leon blue? Aren't they people? Aren't they like white people, not blue people?" It's like, yeah, they're in dim lighting, so that they look bluish. Like like really basic visual processing filters that kind of stuff on its own. It's not even like hard mode. It's not even like, wow, this is a rave where there's
No,
a
that
red,
one is
where-
very simple.
It's not like a rave where it's just like red light and nothing else. It's like, oh, there's a little bit of a lens flare, so it's like a little shiny, but like it's a blue and black dress, obviously. But people that can't filter light apparently, and they cannot figure out they can't. I can tell.
I don't think that was the problem. I think you're misremembering it.
No, that's exactly what the problem was. In fact,
I
there's
think the
actually been
controversy-
there's been studies on it at this point, and the conclusion is that people that spend more time in like alternate lighting situations and indoors and in different and like low light environments and so on were more likely to be correct, whereas people that are like outside all the time were just like, I don't know how to filter visuals because I only see stuff in perfect daylight my whole life.
I think we're going off on a tangent, but the way I
That's the
remember
show.
that's the show. The way I
I'll
remember
remind
it
you
is
that the topic we were on was efficiency in scheduling and editing.
Oh,
So tangents is all we got.
the way I remembered it is you saw it as so the dress itself is gold and white. Is that it?
No, the dress is
No,
blue
the
and
dress
black.
is black and blue.
Black and blue. Oh,
It's always been black and
yeah,
blue.
it's been a while. Black and blue. Okay, so you saw it as black and blue if you in your head were seeing it in the daylight, so you processed it correctly because that's where the photo was taken. But if you're used to artificial light, which is usually colder and bluer, then you saw it as the other color combination that I forget. It's not about how well you are or how good you are at processing pictures. It's what you're used to seeing. Or what your brain is used to seeing, because you might even live all your life inside of your house and still see it as daylight. Because
Well, you saw it as
different
black and blue if you were able to properly filter it and understand what you're looking at and process it, as opposed to you saw it as white and gold if you see it like Photoshop sees things, and it's literally just that exact color according to the photo, and there's no possible interference of any kind.
But
and
obviously, I know it's
blue.
some other color. Obviously, I know it's some other color because I know specifically the colors that are there, which are the colors that I called out when I saw the picture, are a mixture of the two sides of the argument. So one person says it's blue and black, and the other says it's yellow and white, and I'm saying no, it's yellow and black, and then nobody agrees with me, obviously, but it is the colors that are there. I don't remember exactly the combination.
Colors
But
are weird.
that's
Like
because I'm
every
used-
now and then I'll be scrolling on some artist on Twitter will post like a GIF of like color theory's weird, guys, and they'll show like two different images that look like they're massively different colors, and he'll take like a square out of one of them and drag it to the other one.
Those are trippy.
And you'll see it disappear into the other image because that part's also the same color, and you're like, no, it's
Those
not.
are real trippy.
No, it's not though.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. I'm very good at picking colors with my eyes, but those ones with the contrast, they always trip me up. I always think it's a different color, and it's not.
Yeah, but dress is easy mode. Everyone's just dumb.
Yeah, the dress is easy.
It was always blue and black. Yanni Laurel's
don't
different.
remember.
That's like whether or
You
not you
can't
have
trick
hearing.
me. You're all just dumb.
Like Yanni
I
Laurel was
don't
different
remember.
because that was about whether or not you had hearing damage.
Oh,
It reminds me of
that
those.
word that
Reminds me of those gifs where it's like the person spinning around and it says like, "Are they spinning left or right?" And
exactly.
Yeah, and your brain just does like, I don't know. Like for me, it's like, where do you want them to spin? I can make them spin either
You can
direction
change them?
at will. Yeah,
Nice.
you just decide. You just tell your brain they're spinning left, and it turns
My
left.
brain is bad.
You tell it it's
He
spinning
doesn't-
right, it turns right. Like
Yeah.
My
it's
brain
not
doesn't
a,
listen to me.
I actually had a Yanni Laurel joke in one of my videos, and I think like almost nobody got it, and I was kind of disappointed because I was like committed to it.
Oh.
You in Golden Sun, you meet a tree called Laurel. There's two. It's like the forest part of the town, and there's two different.
Oh, I remember you saying that. I actually got it. I didn't say anything.
There's two different trees named, and one of them was named Laurel, and the other tree keeps naming the other tree. So every time he said the name of the other tree, I kept switching back and forth between Yanni and Laurel, and just not acknowledging it. I was just having fun
He
with
was very
that.
in your face as well. Yeah.
was
Did
so
nobody
fucking
get it?
dumb.
That's weird. Maybe
I don't
because
know.
nobody commented.
Maybe just no one comments.
I didn't.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Like everybody's enjoying quietly and be like, I'm really enjoying this video. But then there's this one person who doesn't enjoy it, and that's the one that leaves a comment. Everybody, that's how it works. Although I don't know about your comment section. Mine is fine. It's usually about nitpicky things.
I just don't bother. Like it is, if people see it a certain way, then fine. But I don't know. It just seemed like such a lot of people seemed a lot more invested in this thing than was actually worth being invested in.
Yeah, it's partly it's because of everyone just has stupid, silly, tribalistic reactions, and sometimes it's one of the harmless ones because it's like they're basically doing it for fun. It's like when people argue about like oh man, you're a horde player, or like how like Effie insists on like disparaging whenever he hears somebody plays Hunter in a game. Ugh. And it's like it doesn't matter. It's like pineapple on pizza. No one actually gives a fuck. It's one of those jokey things that people just like reflexively react to because that's part of the fun.
I
or whatever.
give a fuck. I want pineapple in pizza.
No,
It's like the Yanni Laurel, and there it goes. And then like the dress was just like that, like kind of that silly, playful thing. But also like in both cases, you know what you're so sure. You know what you saw. You know what you heard, and it was so obvious, and you didn't even for a second like question whether it could be anything else. So when you see everyone else, or at least a lot of everyone else, saying the opposite, you're like, what the fuck? No. And then you start yelling about it on Twitter. Because like it's true. In both cases, you so instantly are sure because your brain processed it a specific way and you're certain about it. So it's so baffling to see so many people that have like the exact opposite reaction. You're like, what do I do with that? Like, what the fuck does that mean? No, it's clearly that. Then you have the fucking mutants. They're like, it's blue and gold. And I'm like, you're wrong in 2 languages. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's.
But no, on
Yeah,
the
that's definitely the
previous
case.
on the previous thing about like people getting angry about stuff and posting on Reddit, but also just like in reality, just not actually arguing with people that disagree with them, but instead just like sharing things for points amongst people that already agree with them and so on. It really is like there's a video by CGP Grey that at this point, like when I first saw it, I didn't even like the video at first, but I'd come back to it every few years, and at this point I'm convinced it's like one of the best videos on all of YouTube, called "This Video Will Make You Angry," and it's just
I've seen it.
correct about everything in a frustrating way, even down to like the aspects of like when he calls them totems when he talks about like essentially straw men or whatever, like when you have like a version of the opposition that you just like that one like what they're actually saying isn't quite good enough, not quite shareable enough, not quite infuriating enough. So instead you turn them into a totem and you morph it a bit until it's like just right for maximum like virality, and then you share it onto Reddit and you get all of the points and so on. And like those places are just because their point structures are just a breeding ground for people just basically just practicing how to best do that. And even if they're not doing a great job, the sheer mass of them will collectively accidentally eventually just make the perfect totem of the people that they're angry at, and then everyone shouts at that totem and it gets the most up points because it's the perfect level of like wrong according to them, but also like infuriating and condescending or whatever. Like it's like all the right notes to make them the right level of mad but also feel righteous for yelling about it or so on. And like those kinds of communities just breed those like falsehoods in themselves, and it's like that's essentially what they're for at this point, and it's infuriating. Like people still make thumbnails for videos that feature like Big Red, like that one random lady that someone found in the street once that has like glasses and red hair and looks unhappy. That's what people call her. That's not her name. Like she's not an activist. She's not a celebrity or a YouTuber. She's just person that showed up in one video once, and she's still used in thumbnails to be like the evil SJW because she's a totem now. She's just like the perfectly crafted like thing that makes that particular group of people angry and incensed. So you put it in your thumbnail to get people to click on it and so on. And you give her googly eyes and a popped out vein and like stupid exaggerations. And it's just like,
I feel like I don't even know who you're talking about, but if you showed me, I'd probably know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let me just a quick googling Big Red doesn't show her. I know who she is though, or rather, I did find a picture. I know who you're referring to. I think the algorithmic.
Oh. Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about. I just didn't know I didn't know she had a name.
Yeah, the fact that everyone knows who she is, even though you don't know who she is. Because who the fuck is she?
That's It's somebody like I don't even care enough to know the name of because it's like such an irrelevant person in my life. Like,
I think the algorithmic driven machine of making these totems, though, I think it's not necessarily. I don't know if it's because of the algorithm or because of it's not even, I'm not just talking about algorithms like on YouTube. I'm talking about the fact that the most upvoted stuff gets brought to the fore. I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is the motivations behind, like the money motivations behind the people who have channels on YouTube. Like, for example, on this particular subject, because the better totem they have, the more money they get. And so it's okay to have a totem, whatever it is for. The problem is the way it's used is perverse. It's for money. So they don't do it on a moral issue or moral front. Because if you're trying to
mostly everything's done for money. Like,
exactly.
Altruism is not profitable, and profit's the only way things can exist. So,
yeah. What I'm saying is like the issue may not be, or rather, what I'm trying to say is I'm trying sort of to salvage the notion of upvotes. Because the thing, like I think I've seen people come to the conclusion that it's very easy to just conclude, okay, well, millions of flies like shit, so that's what's going on here. The thing that most people like is shit, and so it's very easy to be very nihilistic about this. But I don't think the problem is what people like. I think it's what they're driven to like, and they're driven to like stuff that is profitable, and that's why it's shit. Stuff that is profitable is shit. Let's put it like that, because it is. That's the thing. Because if it were good, then it wouldn't give a profit, because that's stealing, you jerks. That's stupid. That nobody got that. Maybe.
I mean, I think I get the notion, but I don't. Again, like I don't really think. What am I trying to say? I don't know. I don't.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not asking for you to agree. I'm just sort of like musing.
No,
on
I'm trying to think. Like in my head, I think the way I process it is people sometimes just like to be a part of something, so they will agree, even if they don't really agree or care, or like I feel like there's a lot more people that are apathetic to everything going on than there are people who actually care about stuff. But if they see enough of a train moving, then they want to like, well, I don't want to be left behind. Maybe I should like jump on this train and go with them. But if you like push them on it, they're like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
They'll immediately like bounce off. But you can find people that you push back, and they will just go harder. They will buckle down and like put on their stupid iron boots from Zelda and just stay in place forever, and they will not budge. And those are the people. Like I feel like that's the smallest minority possible for any topic. there's always like a very small minority who are passionate, and everyone else is just like apathetically following along. And so,
But
I don't know. It's just like you kind of have to just push things. You just have to make positive things more popular. And
but that's the problem, though. Is these totems that we're talking about, these things these trains that people see, these are we're making fun of them, or of these specific ones that we are talking about. But they're good arguments, or rather, they're not good arguments, or not necessarily, but they're convincing, is what I mean to say. Like, people who subscribe to toxic ideas because they saw it on Reddit and they didn't think about it for a second and just, oh yeah, sure, that makes sense. Like, and then get driven into cult-like rabbit holes where they just end up giving their money for some whatever. Those people, they're in a way they're victims themselves, because the machine is made for when I say the machine is whatever platform they're in. It's made for that process. That's that pipeline of somebody who doesn't care and doesn't think too hard, sees the totem that is very convincing, because obviously it is, otherwise it wouldn't be the totem, and they just, oh, that makes sense, I'll watch this 3-hour podcast about somebody saying that you shouldn't. I'm not going to say trigger words, otherwise YouTube is going to remove the video again. But
oh right, that happened last time.
That's it. Yeah. What I'm saying is, like, these people are also victims a lot of the time, but it gets, like, they're used to not thinking, at least about certain things, about certain aspects of their way of thinking. They're used to not being critically, thinking critically about certain aspects. Yeah, critically challenged. Thank you. And getting them out of that rut can be very difficult, especially because I use the word cult, but it's the tribalism, not just on YouTube, on any social platform. The tribalism is very strong, and it creates a sense of identity. So, we become who we believe that we are. And if you say that I am bad, or rather, if you say that what I think is bad, you're actively saying that I am bad. And it's very difficult for people. Even, like, I think that's just a normal thing that humans do. It's just, like, that's not even unique to the internet. It's just people are who they think they are, and and the things they think. And if like, what are you saying? My sport is full of, like, the sport I watch is full of doping, and it's all a lie, and it's all basically made up anyway. No, it's not. Shut up. You're bad. You must be a communist or something.
Always communist.
I was thinking of what's that sport that the U.S. has?
I love the idea. I love the idea that everything that's wrong in the world is
Skee-ball.
Skee-ball.
I meant the one where they punch each other a lot.
MMA?
MMA, thank you. Yes.
Oh,
the one where someone's leg disintegrates every other week. God,
I
don't know.
It sounds like the VAT system in Fallout, where you just like target the leg and melee and just like crunch the leg in half.
That's the last news thing I heard about it, was that somebody's leg like disintegrated, like his shin, and it's like and it was like the story specifically said that's exactly what happened to the person who fought him last. So it's like a chain of people losing their shins, and I'm like, I hate this whole thought.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it's because there's a specific company that I think is the most famous one that makes the most famous league. I don't remember. WWF, is it the one?
WWF is a wrestling league, whereas MMA is not.
MMA is real.
MMA is
I was talking about wrestling. That's the one. Thank you. The word that was
like
wrestling.
WWE and WCW.
That's the one.
And
not the
I probably know old ones that aren't new anymore.
No, it's WWF, because WWE is the World Wildlife. No, sorry, it's WWE, not WWF, because WWF is World Wildlife Foundation, and they had to change the name because it was a trademark
That's
dispute.
That's why I know WWF, because I think
people are getting annoyed. They're trying to like, hey, can you donate to WWF? And it's like, isn't that wrestling? I'm not donating to wrestling. It's like, no, the Wildlife Foundation. Could you do that?
I think I had a wrestling game on the 64 that was like WCW versus NWO, and I just always played as the Ninja. Which I don't know if he was a real wrestler.
I don't think that's
lot
a
of
real
the other one-
wrestler.
I don't know. There's probably been a wrestler that dressed like a ninja. They're weird like that. There's so many of them. One of them pretended to be a dead guy for like 20 years.
The Undertaker.
Wrestling's weird.
The Undertaker was my first introduction to wrestling, and I was like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was like 14. I can't say I liked it, but I never watched it, so
I was really confused because I remember specifically watching wrestling when I was younger and going like, "Oh, is this not real? Like, this seems cartoonish. Like, you can't hit people with chairs. Wouldn't that kill them?" And I remember specifically being told like, "No, this is real." I was like, I don't believe you. It cannot be real. Like, there's no way. This is like this dude's jumping off like a 20-foot building and body slamming another guy. Like, no, there has to be like some kind of fake to this. And then when it was like, yeah, it's wrestling, of course it's fake. It's like, when did that become a thing? Like, everybody agrees it's fake now. When the hell that happened?
Nobody warned me.
Yeah, I was like, what? I wasn't crazy. This is like cartoonishly silly. Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine. Just like,
I don't
know why.
normally ever give a shit about wrestling at all, but then like someone like Super Eye Patch Wolf will make a video about wrestling, and then it's like weirdly compelling because they just seem really invested, and that's like infectious. Although in his case, I think he might have jumped the shark for me a bit because he just made a video about he made a really bizarre Space Jam 2 fan fiction video, essentially, where he did the entire thing with the same level of sincerity in his voice. And now I think like the illusion's broken that he ever means it.
Yeah.
Because he sounded exactly as invested in that video as he does about all the things he talks about on the channel. And I'm like, wait, so you just put this on? I see.
Oh no!
This might break
it
the
actually
channel
kind of
for
like.
me.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
I watched that video and I actually despised it. It was like, wait, is he just like straight facing this? Wait, he can just straight face this?
Wait,
I was
but
like,
you guys
oh,
do
wait.
realize you do realize that that's not a rational. I mean, I'm not dismissing your reaction, but it's not rational though. Like every line that they record, it's always putting on a face because it's pre-written, right?
But no,
You know
there's
that.
like there's a different level of sincerity in the way that he talks.
Yeah, I know, but they just didn't make the sort of the executive decision to, not play it straight, which they probably should. But I'm not dismissing.
He's
you. I
not
think you're
just
right.
playing. He's not just playing it straight. It's that he specifically has a talent for having inflections in his voice that convey emotion on like a deeper level that seems
I see.
really sincere.
That seems real.
And since he's talking about stuff he's really passionate about, you just believe it because it's like, it's just what he sounds like when he talks about things he's passionate about. But then he says he's talking about his dumbass fan fiction about where fucking Michael Jordan is a lover with Bugs Bunny, and like, what's wrong, dear? You have that dream again, and so on. Like, this bizarre shit is happening, and it sounds exactly like all of the other videos on his channel. And I'm like, oh no, he just
Philosophy Tube.
He's
I
just
think
a
has
voice
video.
actor that fakes it the whole time, and like way more than I thought you could.
Philosophy Tube, I think, has a video where she goes on about. I don't know if it's about suicide or it's about something less tragic than that, but it's something personal.
Not astronomer.
It would be the astronaut, yeah, but I don't think it's that one. It might be.
Those are the ones about personal struggles with suicide and so on.
Yeah.
There's a word
I think
for it.
it's a the word. Oh, it's
There's
like
a
for
word
the
for-
series.
Yeah, it's a word. It's not an astronaut. It's like a similar word.
Oh yeah, cosmonaut. I think.
Cosmonaut. It's the Cosmonaut trilogy, which ended with the final episode. I think the final episode of the Cosmonaut trilogy was just the video of coming out as trans. I think it was supposed to be part of that.
I think so. Yeah, I didn't quite get the branding. I only understood it after the fact. I just watched the videos and I watched the videos. But there's one part where she goes on about something very dear and close to her heart, and it's it's emotional and it's specific, and then immediately she lifts the veil and is like, this is my fourth take on this, and because I think the video is about. I think the video is about the masks that people. I don't know. I don't think it is the suicide video. I think it's about the masks that people wear, and so it's used as an effect. But yeah, I think if anybody that pre-writes content,
you're talking about the one where where they're in an interrogation chamber with two other copies of themselves. But those two,
Oh yeah, that's the one.
those two interrogators are named after Lindsay Ellis and Shannon Strucci because they're the two
I don't
other
remember
people.
the name, but I think I think
They're
that's
named
the one.
Ellis and Strucci because they're the two because they're named after the two other video essayists that have done videos about parasocial relationships
yeah.
because that's a parasocial relationship video.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah, that's such a good video. But there was one moment where I mean, it's just inevitable. If you have videos on YouTube that seem like they are pre-written, that are not like the way we're talking right now because we have a lot of pauses and a
Yeah.
lot of uhs. It's all acting, and it doesn't mean that it's the
It's
point in
called-
that video.
For the audience, it's called YouTube Art or Reality.
Oh yeah, that's exactly yeah. But the thing is, the point I think she makes is that it's not about like it doesn't just because it is acting, it doesn't mean that it's not real. Just the same way, like if I write you a letter and the letter is very emotive, it doesn't mean that it's not real, even though I wrote it in a way that was meant to convey emotion. Because I can be feeling devastated or very happy or whatever emotion I may be feeling, and I write something shit that doesn't convey what I'm feeling, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So
There's
the
an
conscious
artifice.
decisions.
There's an artifice to philosophy tube videos because they're specifically like shot and staged and scripted in a way that feels like watching a movie or something where you expect it's like, oh, this is a performance. Whereas like somebody like when somebody like Super Eye Patch Wolf is just doing voiceover about like the nerdy things they like and whatnot, you kind of take it to be a more authentic thing, and that's kind of what one of the core appeals of YouTube is. And one of the core struggles of that is, of course, the fact that it's almost always less authentic than you think it is, because that's what it is. Like when you have all these fucking weird like child exploitation family vloggers or like beauty vloggers and so on that pretend they are so emotional about these things and so on, and they'll do like 17 takes about how to frame that video just right that makes them seem really sympathetic and so on, because they're manipulating their audience on purpose with their content and so on. Like a lot of YouTubers specifically zero in on this and figure out how to exploit it. And that's not what I'm saying Super Eye Patch Wolf does, at least not in like in a nefarious way, but it definitely is like it fucks
now it
you
feels
up
like it
when
is.
it fucks you up when they can maintain the same level of sincerity in their voice for half an hour about the most bonkers nonsense that they were definitely being facetious about the whole time. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I think the spell might be broken. I think I left a comment on the video, which was like, why does this feel like the series finale of Super Eye Patch Wolf?
Oof.
It does. I don't know. It is a really.
It's fine. Nobody sees my comments because I marked as spam.
What are you?
Yeah, every time I leave a comment on somebody's channel, it's like hidden as far as I can tell.
Not
It
on my
just
side.
seems like it. When somebody has a decent amount of following, it seems like they get some kind of like preferred treatment, and they get like sort of like shot ahead of the audience, and they're weirdly exposed and whatnot, and like people interact
need
with
to
them and
be-
so on.
You need to be right there when there's like one view. And then you comment immediately. You're just guessing what's going to happen because it's a numbers game, man. YouTube comments are a numbers game. You need to guess without seeing the video. You need to guess what is this going to be about, and immediately come up with a witty comment, and then you write it. And then if it's good, yeah.
Ultraviolet, you got to get the exact totem comment. Now we're down to like the last half an hour. Did you want to talk about what happened last time? The previous episode on your channel.
Oh yeah. So was it the previous one or was it the one before?
It might be the one before.
I can tell. Let me open
It was
the folder here.
It's probably the one before.
I think.
Yeah,
it
I think it was
before.
the. Yeah, I think it was the easy mode debate because I think that's the one where we
right.
had a bird on board.
Yeah.
And I think we complained about insane quarantine practice people that are infuriating,
I was
and that
talking
might
about-
have led to it getting taken down for like, was it medical misinformation?
Yeah, they gave my channel a strike for spreading misinformation regarding the pandemic, and
Which
they
I don't
put the
think
video
we
down.
did either.
I specifically talked. I don't know if they. I don't know. They didn't say when it was in the video that I did that, but I remember specifically talking about the vaccination and about I said what people were talking about was bollocks and bad, and I was knocking it down.
So you
but
you said something as an example of what people say to specifically counter it, and the fucking algorithm is so brain dead dumb that they're like, medical information channel down, but Steven Crowder gets to keep his stuff.
Yes, exactly. And then the thing happened the strike happened like less than a day after the video went up, and I immediately appealed it, and I said I'm doing precisely the opposite. And then I think it was like 16 hours or something until they manually reviewed it and reinstated it and took the strike out. But yeah, this the thing is, it's all nice and all that they did the manual review, and it'd
be sure fucking nice if they could manually review it before they give your channel a strike.
Yeah,
like above all, like a video going down is whatever, but a channel strike is genuinely fucked up, because it's like 3 strikes and they delete your channel essentially, and it's every channel strike on all of YouTube should be manually reviewed. This is a really, really basic expectation, and it doesn't work that way, and it's baffling. If you want to have other executive choices that are automated, then that's like fine. It's frustrating, but whatever. But if you're gonna have a 3-strike system where a channel can go down, you better fucking manually review every strike you're ever putting out. That's insane.
I agree with you, and I definitely do agree with you. But if we were having a conversation with YouTube and they made the argument, but we want to maximize profit, so we're not doing that, I would be okay with that, as long as they actually enforce their rules to everybody the same, because obviously they don't. You mentioned Steven Crowder, and it's so blatant.
Would it have flagged your channel if you had put it up, not published it, but had like uploaded it and did? Because like there's supposed to be a check system before you publish. Mm-hmm. It will like check to make sure that nothing about your video is going to get it flagged.
It's literally the same video that I uploaded.
Also that,
and you did, yeah,
with no consequences. Only his one gave him a channel strike,
and it's not even edited differently or with different sounds. No,
it's the same file. I send it because I edit it and send it to everybody. It's the same podcast, and yours was like, maybe your channel should not exist anymore, stakes, and mine was a normal video that I never thought about again.
I guess what we're learning is the bigger your audience, the less scrutiny your videos have.
I got that big YouTuber dick.
And so like eventually I'm assuming that's the problem with,
but that's like
a huge conspiracy issue, theorists or like crazy people shouting off nonsense is like, if big channels are allowed to just keep operating without scrutiny until someone like shines the light on it.
Nobody is, though, because YouTube is vested in having the big channels. They're the most profitable per view, not like from an infrastructural perspective, but also they're the ones that drive the people into the site. So like for YouTube and for Twitch is the same. It's like the bigger channels are the bread and butter. They coddle to them left and right, and obviously that's even a bigger issue for like corporations like CNN and MSNBC and stuff like that, because they're the kings of YouTube. YouTube will bend over backwards for them, and it's all because of the money. It's I think,
and with the asymmetrical implementation too between the two of us, it also raises the question of whether it's just the algorithm being spotty and inconsistent, or if you were like the victim of some sort of like sad coward baby that tried to flag your content because they were really had their feelings hurt about what the things you said.
It might have been that. I know there were no down likes on the video as far as I remember. At least not at the time.
They went straight for the neck.
They were,
And all of us have had channel strikes. Back
that was my first time.
Yeah.
This year, Andrew had his visual novels, and technically I've never had a channel strike on my channel, but I had a channel strike back when I considered Sad Games my main channel, which was the fucking Smash a Seal guy throwing copyright strikes at us because we dared cover his game and so on, and he was obviously only going after people that had negative opinions of his sad, stupid baby game that was trash. What an embarrassing blemish on his resume for the rest of his life to have that be a thing he made on purpose, and the fact that he did that in reaction to anyone not liking it.
And people
Meanwhile,
saying that he did it because that's the cringe.
Like that's what happened
People
recently to Jim Sterling is that they covered this one developer's games like once a year or something, or like just over a huge span of time. So they had like
No, they've been doing it for a while. It's like I remember seeing videos about it.
I think they
for
had
a
like
while,
5 or 6 different games made by this just really shitty developer that gets their games on Sony platforms somehow, and like they're always like asset flip, weird trash looking games that just are incomplete, but also never could have been good to begin with, and like were clearly just these weird aborted games that somehow get sold for money on stores, and you're just confused what's going on. Like that one Black Tiger game that has a lot of dislikes on their trailer channel, where you're just like, what is this? Who's this?
Life
for?
of Black Tiger is better than the videos.
No, but that game's a similar like, what's going on?
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
How did this get
Keith,
published?
are you claiming Trailer Park King isn't the best game ever made?
I think Trailer Park King is better than the videos, the games that we're talking about.
I mean, probably actually, but
It's the one where
those games were
dialogue overlaps.
they're so bad. They're but like Jim would cover various games, and they covered those games and so on. And there was they made a video about it, how the fact that like that developer had like a targeted strike against their channel, where they not only did they try to do the copyright strike, not a claim, just as though people are clear, like a claim can get a video blocked, or it can like take the monetization away from the video and steal it and so on. Like claims happen all the time, but a strike is when you're like, I'm going to vindictively attack the channel for this video, essentially. And it's like, and like they not only did they put strikes out for the games that Jim had covered over the course of years by that developer, they specifically did one strike per day, so they would register as separate strikes against the channel. So there was a calculated attempt to take down the channel by getting the 3 strikes over the course of 3 days, and they had to like pull strings and figure out how to like coordinate with people to make sure that this wasn't going to go through and so on, because like they have like they're like big enough on YouTube that they have like an agent or some shit that they have a contact with. But it's like that was just straight up weaponizing YouTube's system to just go after somebody, and like this is just a thing that happens. That could just happen, and like what the fuck, like how, and yeah, there's all these infamous examples you see online of like, yeah, this one guy. Shout out to this guy. Everyone signal boost this on Twitter because like this guy's YouTube channel just vanished today, and they don't know what to do about it. Like this just happens periodically, and it's fucking terrifying. And it's like, how the fuck are strikes not manually reviewed, especially the third one?
The only solace is
just
the fact. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say it's just obviously it's the cost value. Like you're paying you're paying a lot of money to have someone check that like hundreds and hundreds of garbage is allowed to be on a website that just isn't made for you. Like this, YouTube isn't. It doesn't exist as a repository for people to just upload whatever videos they want to. Like it's supposed to be a very specific thing.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. Yeah, you're absolutely nailing the head on the nail.
But I mean, I don't know, because like you think about it, like this is manually reviewing things is a pretty easy job to outsource. Like, how hard would it be to ask people to
they do outsource? That's also not necessarily
but
a
I'm
good
saying
thing,
like,
but
you could easily mass outsource this. But of course, you're not. There's clearly no value in doing so. Like, the content that is okay to keep, which is the people that like reputable sources, and then everything else is like, whatever. Like, oh, we lost the channel with 100,000 subscribers. Whatever. The people that watch that channel aren't going away. They're not going to stop going to YouTube. They're going to just go somewhere else. It's like it's like Reddit. When you bust down a Reddit, it's like, yeah, we did it. We kicked out that Reddit from existing. It's like, okay, well, you just like kind of shook the trash can and all the rats went running to the next trash can. Like they're not. Yeah. They didn't leave. They're just. They're still on the site. They're still in the city. The rats didn't leave the city. They're just going to a different trash can now. Like, and so there's no incentive to like make sure every dumpster is clean and proper and like well taken care of and gets emptied out on its time, because whatever, if one overflows and it just sits there, fine. And if one gets like thrown into a furnace, it's like, okay, well, oh well.
I will say that I do get some solace from the fact that Jim Sterling did get the strikes retracted. In the last one specifically, was like YouTube intervened, and YouTube said this person issued a copyright claim, but we think it's fraudulent, and so YouTube never really took out Jim Sterling's channel. And for in my case, even though they did take out the video, and fortunately it was just the first strike, so the strike itself didn't have any consequence, but it was redacted, or removed. Retracted is the word, I believe. And in my case, they also manually reviewed it and agreed with me that it was not a correct strike or a correct issue of copyright. Not copyright. It was a community guideline infraction. So there's a little bit of solace there. There's still, at least it's not like the nightmare tales of, well, that's a channel gone forever. Nobody ever replies to my email. It's always saying that it's a machine, or it's just some machine reply or something. Because that's the nightmare situation.
Fucking terrifying, though. You could just be like,
yeah.
Hey, I just complained about how a dumb thing people are doing, and they're like, you're that thing? Out. Strike. Get off our platform. I'm like, what?
I think that's the biggest problem.
That's how dumb the AI is? Jesus.
I'm more alarmed that they didn't take away that person's ability to do copyright strikes. Like, it's alarming that they would say, oh yeah, that's bad. You know, like, obviously these are false, like, claims. It doesn't matter. But you didn't, like, sit down and go, maybe this person shouldn't be allowed to make copyright claims.
I don't think that's legal, though. I think
you can definitely, if you abuse a system, you lose the access to that system. Like, if you
sure?
like patent trolls can no longer be allowed to submit.
They just lose standing. They can submit.
Yeah,
you just actually dismiss them, right? Like, no, I'm
pretty sure if you create enough false lawsuits, you can be barred from, like, you can start fined.
I've heard of an example of this recently. I think it was a Legal Eagle video that they have a video called Frivolous Lawsuits from a couple weeks ago, and whoever the fuck was an example in one of those they had so many frivolous lawsuits that they literally got barred from. Like there's basically like an entire review process that has to happen before any of their lawsuits ever actually take hold again and are taken seriously.
But they can submit, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, they can still submit, but like there's an entire process in place to stop him from actually reaching a court ever again, because there's
it's like when
a sad little piss baby rolling around screaming at everybody.
Yeah, it's like when you put a sign on like a store and it says "Do not serve this customer," and like now every time like someone looks at that person and goes, hey, you kind of look familiar to that person. Are you supposed to be here? Like, why didn't YouTube do that? Why didn't they say, like, okay, this is fraudulent, but also now every claim this person makes has to go through a system? Because we all know that YouTube won't check, and so those claims won't ever get checked. It'll just be a robot that says, like, nah, like, and so like that's what's concerning to me, is that you just continue to allow the behavior. You say, like, oh yeah, we made sure that guy didn't get his channel removed. Okay, moving on now. It's like, what about the guy with the gun? The guy with this shooting the gun. Could we stop that guy? And it's like, nah, he's in his right to do that. It's like, what?
It's
okay.
Yeah.
And that is a terms of use. You're not allowed to weaponize the copyright
that's against
system.
the law. That's like,
so like,
is,
this is like, it's impressive that you would not decide to solve, or not even just solve, like you would not at least say something about, like, this person can't, make it so they have to go through a checking process before they can submit claims from now on, or whatever. But like the idea that you let this person just walk away from abusing a system to just go back and abuse it again for a smaller channel now. Like, oh yeah, that guy was too big. That was a fish that was too hard to kill. But we can go and do that to like a guy with 50 subscribers now, and he can't do anything about it.
I think, but like, I like to think that maybe if that happens and people appeal, maybe YouTube will already have like the backlog and look, oh, they did that to Jim Sterling, so that's what's going on. I mean, if the system works,
I can't fathom that they do. It just
maybe they don't.
I don't know.
Just send it to somebody off in enough short.
They can't even tell the difference between like fake copyright claims, where like people literally copyright a song like Beethoven's Symphony, and it's not being copywritten by the estate of Beethoven. It's being copywritten by some random dude in the middle of Kentucky who's like, yeah, I did a cover of that song. It's my song.
That stuff can be ambiguous, but there's other people that fucking cover it like white noise, and then it starts striking anybody that like has any white, like not even the right white noise. It's just like, this seems similar, and the AI bot's like, that checks out. The complicated thing about classical music, as far as I understand, is that the music itself is in the public domain and you're able to use it, but you need to find a recording that's also in the public domain, because there are recordings of it that are copyright by the person who did that recording.
But that's
and
the
that's
problem.
also
Like,
public domain.
if you play a song, and if you cover it properly, you sound exactly the same as the original one.
Yeah,
like how YouTube can't tell apart. I mean, YouTube can.
But again, this is a limitation of a machine. Like a machine doesn't do nuance. A machine does like ones and zeros, and if it matches, it matches. It's not going to sit there and be like, well, actually, I can tell that the keys were pressed a little bit harder on the original Beethoven symphony. Clearly, it's not the same one. Like, it doesn't know. It's just sitting there like, yes, it made same vocal cords at same pitch at same volume. Looks good to me, boss, and like moves on with its life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. It just, I mean, at the end of the day, that just shows the lack of care. Because if you're going to throw a bot at something, it's usually because you don't want to invest time into doing this properly. You just want to get it done quickly.
What they should do is they should have the mechanisms for creating the videos. Because obviously with the systems that we have right now, we just upload a video. We have the same page for everybody. It's the same exact process for everything. And obviously they have the work cut out for them if they're going to want to detect a copyright infringement on a movie, or a soundtrack that that people shouldn't be using it, or a cover. And it's all the same system. It's just a matter of creating the systems, the sort of creator-facing systems, that in a way that allows us to tell YouTube what we're doing. When we make if YouTube were creator focused, they would have an upload system for Let's Players. They would have an upload system for music, for cover channels, because even like the basic fundamental channel features are not the same.
They just
like
Frankenstein all of it together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd love my channel to just have the first episodes, but maybe like a music cover channel.
Like,
is
I think
not
every
at all
random,
like that. They want.
I think every random weird channel, they're just like, I'm going to stream today. It's like, oh yeah, what game is it?
Yeah,
because like it's just an everybody mashed together channel platform.
Well, I would imagine that the best way to do this would be through categories. Like, I thought that, you would think that's the purpose of categories, is that you say this is gaming content, and it goes, okay, so gaming content is very different from a cooking show. There's different things going on. There's like, you're playing a game that's copyright owned or whatever. We had this topic in a previous episode. Like, do you have the permission to do this? And if not, like, is it fair use? Or like, there's like different avenues you would go down versus like entertainment. Okay, did you make this yourself? Does it have any kind of like clips or anything from, like, say you're doing a like Jimmy Fallon show or whatever the hell those cartoonish people do, and they have like silly clips and they're reacting to it. It's like,
if instead of being auto flagged for stuff when you're in the upload process for a video, and they flag like, this features content from Rooster Teeth in it. If it was like, and here's a button to request permission to use this video, and like you could actually just clear the whole thing out instead of having like a strike happen or whatever the fuck. It's like, we will allow this like criticism video to come out. I'm still thinking about the Ruby video apparently.
And I'll bring to your attention,
the Ruby video is a criticism of another YouTube channel's content, and it features all these parts where he like makes the screen spin or something because he's trying to get past content ID, trying to block the criticism video because fair use might exist as a concept, but you can't actually like tell YouTube that most of the time.
Yeah. And I'll bring to your attention, viewers might not be fully aware of this. It was a bit of a... People did talk about it at the time, but do you remember when YouTube started categorizing some channels as for children? Like, because of the... Yeah, so it was a big thing because there was a lawsuit, and they basically
lost monetization and your comment section.
But did you see how they did it? Because they took it so seriously, because of course they had to. They made you choose. Like, every channel has to say you are made for children or you're not. And even when you upload the video, there's a legally binding option there where you say this video is made for children. And if you tick it, then your video is subjected to the rules of the made for children YouTube. And if you don't, then you're legally bound to that statement. So they take it so seriously when that comes to that, but everything else they just don't care because, you know.
Well, I mean, one of those things had a very big congressional, like, all right, you fuck up again, and we're gonna tear it all down.
Yeah, YouTube was doing something illegal for like 20 years that they knew was illegal the whole time, and they just we'll just get away with it. No one understands technology enough to get mad at us, and then like if
someone figured out how technology worked, it's like, uh-oh.
If you're making enough money, someone's gonna figure out how to get mad.
Yeah,
eventually
they did get away scot-free at the end.
Will come.
They basically
sort of. I mean, they got away in the sense they didn't have to like pay reparations to.
Even if they
children,
did have to pay, they built a huge platform. They built a culture. YouTube is a freaking culture. A whole generation was built on YouTube. we know it firsthand.
Sure, but I mean the victims here aren't getting. You know, they're not getting any kind of compensation for their, I guess, advertisement to or data harvesting from is, I guess, the problem. Lose. And
but even those of us not children, it's just like the. I think the problem.
Well, I mean, adults make a conscious decision every day to do incredibly stupid stuff with privacy. Yeah. Like children can't even begin to comprehend the even notion of privacy. They don't even know what the concept means.
Yeah. I think that's the issue. Is like, it's just the world is worse off because children are advertised to, and this applies to YouTube, but it applies to anybody else.
I mean, you could cut out the middleman. The world is worse off because children. Like,
that's not the middleman. That's the last part of the sentence. You cut it out. Cut out the last part of the sentence.
But yeah, I mean, advertisement is always going to be the thing that ruins everything until you fix it. But
yeah, it's such a shame that it's such a fundamental aspect of capitalism, isn't it?
There's just a lot of leave the kids out of things that would be wise if it happened, and it usually doesn't. Yeah. Like there's a family vlogging channel on YouTube that's infamous right now for killing a dog.
I'm sorry, for what?
They killed the dog on camera?
How do you Google that?
It's like their dog bit their kid, so they euthanized it. And then for some reason, thought it was a great idea to make a video about that. And so everyone's very mad at them for killing their dog. Oh. But additional distressing stuff is that they were going to adopt babies, and the country that they wanted to adopt the baby from wasn't going to let them do it. Because specifically, they had a rule where you couldn't share them on YouTube and social media or anything like that for like a year, and the adoption is not finalized until after an entire year. And it's like it's basically a defense against people like hiring vanity babies for production, essentially, which is and because this couple backed off of that, it was clear that's exactly what they were doing. They were buying a fucking baby from another country as like a fucking accessory for because it's profitable for their fucking YouTube enterprise of profiting off of their family vlogging. It's that entire genre is super gross, but these people are distressing.
Did they kill their dog for no reason then, or was the dog sick?
No, they had a baby, and the dog bit their baby, so they killed the dog. It's a separate issue.
Okay,
and they were also trying to adopt a baby from another country, clearly as like for the aesthetic of looking like, look at our rainbow family. Like, let's get we got ethnic children that we adopted. We're like Angelina Jolie or whoever the fuck.
Ethnic children,
because it's just like they wanted just for clicks. They were going to get this baby just for clicks, as shown by the fact that the moment that they were told that you can't put them on social media for a year, they backed out of doing it. It's like, it wasn't because they cared about the baby and wanted to give it a good life. It's because they wanted the clicks. They wanted to monetize that baby. Like,
Jesus.
where all these things meet children is creepy on all sides. Like, one of the most profitable fucking enterprises in all of like social media right now is some kid that opens surprise eggs, and he's got like a YouTube channel, but he's also got like multiple
Is he
cartoons.
still going? I've seen
I
that
don't
like
know.
a year
Yeah.
ago.
Like, I mean, eventually he's gonna get old, right? But like,
Yeah.
he's got like
Eventually, he's gonna get old.
You know,
he's got like
you-
I think he has 2 separate cartoons that are about him, like Dora the Explorer style, that for like young children and so on. And it's like the level of
Gross.
exploitation
That's
and
just
weird
bad.
stuff
Yeah,
all
that's
surrounding
real
this
bad.
young child, and it's like, oh boy.
that is
Well, I
bad.
mean, we also know that just like the site's kind of the internet's kind of
There's like a service level
rampant.
people. There's like a service level thing where people be like, "Oh, see, he just opens presents and then gets happy about it. Like, what's wrong?" And he seems to be having a good time.
people
but I'm
making
like,
money off of it
Yeah,
doing
how's that going between the takes? How's he being treated off camera? That's just fucking worrying.
But
It's
that's
like
not
that-
even a thing,
yeah.
though. Like
that. It's
child
like that
actors.
person. The other person was trying to do like scenes with their dog or whatever, and like they like forgot to edit out the part where they beat their dog in the middle of the recording to like get
What?
the takes they want. Yeah. Because they didn't
When
edit
did
it
that happen?
carefully enough, so they left one of the in-between takes parts in, like people do sometimes. But like when fucking Noah Caldwell Gervais leaves a take in on accident, it's like, oh, he mispronounced a line, then started over and said it again, and he forgot to edit that part out. But in this lady, it's like she beat her dog. YouTube's gross and horrible.
Jesus Christ, that's such a terrible thing.
Yeah,
You're
I
watching a video
don't-
about
Don't
somebody
worry,
with their
guys.
dog.
I just play video games.
Jeez.
All these other
Yeah,
genres
I
are
mean-
terrifying.
And you
It's-
never even give a shot for the burps to edit them out, so it's not even a mistake.
It's all off.
That's why I don't. That's why I don't edit out burps. It's because if
I
you're
think
willing
they-
to watch that crap, you can watch me burp on live television.
All those edits, they could be hiding anything. Who knows what violence I've done upon people in those seconds between takes.
Only your microphone.
See, I'm not a
Jesus
coward.
Christ.
I keep all of that in. It's all of my video game content shows me being violent to people.
All YouTubers are bad people.
Well, that's not fair.
And
All
it's not
people
just
on the
'cause they're
internet
not,
are
and
bad
it's not
people.
just because they're narcissists and fake. It's also the crimes they do.
I'm having a little bit of trouble
not-
getting past my bias on that
and
particular
they're not
question.
and they're not even cool crimes.
Not
that's
even
the thing,
cool
yes, that's
crimes.
not-
I,
they're
I
not
like
even-
the idea that's
They're not like, yeah, take down the power structure, anarchism 101 crimes. They're like violence.
Oh, when you said cool crimes, I was thinking like
violence
robbing a
upon-
bank or something.
No.
Not like
Oh, you mean like extreme crimes?
yeah,
I
like
just-
extremely cool crimes. but you're over here just like
I
nah,
mean
I
like
didn't-
I mean like chaotic good as opposed to lawful good. But no, these are just like chaotic evil, I guess. Like they're just evil and
They're-
illegal in many
Yeah,
cases.
Chaotic evil sounds about right.
I
Do you think
I would-
robbing a
I
bank
just
is chaotic? Well, it wouldn't be lawful, would it?
No, it's not lawful to rob.
it's yeah. I don't think it'll ever be lawful to rob a bank. Otherwise, I think a lot more people would do it. But
What
The,
what alignment would it
It's
be?
like when you said it's
Chaotic
like when you
evil?
said
It would be
it's like when you had your rant or
neutrally
whatever
bad.
about like how ACAB is lawful good or something, and I'm like, you've gone somewhere I cannot follow. But
I'm
lawful
here-
lawful just means something, and you've really just ran right past it.
But
I-
my
I
problem
was-
with
I would think robbing a bank is like neutrally bad. Like you're
neutral
you're
evil?
stealing yeah, like neutral evil, because you're stealing money from a like basically a corporation that
Yeah.
profits off of exploiting like
Yeah.
people's finances.
It might
But
even be
the
it might
money
even
that
be
you
true
steal
neutral.
but
If you
like
don't
the
ki-
money
if
you
you don't
steal
kill anyone, it might be true neutral.
is it because like the but
I think
isn't
it's
there a risk
chaotic.
that the money that you steal
Yeah, no,
like,
you're
'cause
right.
the
It's,
money
it's
you,
chaotic neutral. It's not it's
Yeah.
not lawfully neutral, but it might be
Yeah, it's-
morally neutral.
If it's like
yeah,
a real bad
morally
bank,
it's neutral, but it's definitely chaos. Because like I don't know. I actually don't know what would happen if like a bank had all its money
oh,
stolen.
it's all
But
insured.
I imagine
Most of
It's
it
all
is
insured.
insured.
Yeah,
They
but-
don't lose anything.
Yeah. And yeah,
but, like,
it is
so-
worth
that
noting
money has
that
to come from
alignment
somewhere.
alignment is mostly internal justification. So it kind of
that's-
depends on what your character feels about it.
Let me grab onto
guess
that
it's
because
true.
it's absolutely what you're talking about, Keith. That's why I don't think lawful means following the law or respecting the law, because it is internal. Otherwise, if it was about following the law, then your alignment
It's
changes
following
based on the country.
someone's law.
If it's not
Yeah,
following God's law, it's not law.
but like, what if nobody? It's your. What if it's your own law? Is that chaotic?
That's
Even though he's
narcissistic.
I
Like-
think people will have opinions on this, and I'm not going to check the rules or whatever right now or anything. But
the rules
I think
are dumb
if it's
anyway.
completely self-contained, then it ceases to mean anything. If it's just your rules,
that's fair.
then it doesn't really mean anything, because then like how is anyone chaotic? They could just be, it's their own personal code. It's just that's just how the Joker is, man. We live in a society. Joker's lawful neutral. No,
I think there's seriously looking at society. Then obviously that's one limitation of alignment systems, is that you're always going to be basing it off of a society, fictional or reality.
It's
I think
why
in
you
our
just need to
society-
remember that in most contexts, it only exists to be a role-playing tool for the player to think about how their character is being played. And so it's just helping them imagine the structure of it, as opposed to being a rule set, except for when it is, because of
it's
paladins
getting less and less,
monks.
but yeah.
'Cause sometimes it's a
think-
rule.
I think in our society there's a big divide between people who prioritize personal responsibility over people who prioritize systemic responsibility. And obviously that also correlates somehow with political leanings, but not exclusively. And certainly doesn't correlate necessarily with people who think themselves to be good or people who think themselves to be not as good, because obviously nobody thinks they're bad, but
Because leftists and libertarians are more chaotic, and conservatives and liberals are more lawful.
I don't know. I think I don't know. I think an anarchist might be just inherently like seen as chaotic. But
Yeah.
if you're the reason for your anarchism is because you're concerned about the systemic motives behind the society and why
they
there's.
might become lawful if the anarchism won.
But that's the thing.
When it's not in a place, then they're chaotic.
But that can't be the case, man. Otherwise, your alignment changes based on the country that you're in. I'm chaotic evil here, but I go over to the U.S. I am lawful good now.
Well, no, only one of those. Even with that argument
that's
being
fair.
true, only one of those would
That's fair.
change.
Only
The
one
good
of
or
those, yeah,
evil
I miss-
is based on some kind of cosmic justice idea of what's good and evil universally.
That's the
potentially.
harder one.
and that's always debatable. But
Yeah,
usually it just
absolutely.
means don't murder people.
That's the hard. No. It means don't murder the leader of the group. Murder the henchman, but the leader you just let it go.
That's Spectre good. Is the BioWare storytelling where you kill every henchman on the way to the leader, and then there's a moral choice about whether you should kill the leader. I hate it so much every time it happens.
But that only happens because they have trash combat. They have combat for the sake of combat, and if they just cut out all the stuff that doesn't matter, then they would have the correct amount of combat, and you would
Yeah.
make a moral choice
Well,
every time.
It's that RPGs and many games in general are just full of like filler combat that exists just as a matter of fact, and you're not really
Yeah.
meant to question it because they kind of didn't. But then at the end they're like, but we also need to have moral choices, so we'll put one in here. And it's like, oh, that seems like a right place. He's the only voiced character. He should be a choice. Like, do you kill him or do you negotiate him or what's going to happen? But like, yeah, like it makes in some cases you can justify it. In some cases, it's like it makes your character just seem deranged and incoherent because you just murdered 30 people to get here. It's the Nathan Drake problem where you're like, but there's stakes, right? And like those people just like shot him, but like, yeah, but he's putting himself in these situations where he has to kill 500 brown people per hour.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like at some point you start to question whether he's at fault. Especially like
There's-
4 games in.
That's
It's
a
like he has a
consideration that
body count of like a country.
that's a consideration that I wish games did. Like, not most of the time. I wish they did it all the time. Which is like in video games, the self-defense carries a lot of weight. You go into somebody's house and they shoot you because they say bandit above their head over their health bar. Well, that's self-defense. No, it isn't. You went into their house. And they're a bandit. Of course they're going to shoot you. They were going to shoot you outside, let alone in their house. It's your fault.
Yeah,
They're breaking and entering.
A whole formula of Fallout is breaking into other people's bases, then killing them all, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm the good, and then you get good guy points because you're the good guy. And you're like, am I?
That's not how it works.
That's why I like the Skyrim logic better, is where you put a basket over someone's head and steal their stuff, and it's okay.
But I've shared the story a few times, but it was that time I played Vampire the Masquerade, the tabletop game, with a group of like they were just murder hobos. Like the DM put us in a suburban neighborhood, and they just started going house to house and clearing them out. And it's like, no, this is just a normal neighborhood of humans at night. Like, you don't just like go murder looting every single house one by one. And they're calling me they're like I was the buzzkill refusing to play the game because I was like not going in with them. And like they're like oh, you see a shape, and it's like, I fire fire spell, and it's like, a burning figure comes running out of the door, and like that's just like some guy that answered his door. Like, that's not like like an enemy with loot or anything. You guys are just, you're trained by Diablo and other games to just treat violence as the default verb for every second of gameplay, and you don't understand what a role-playing game is.
Yeah, and especially Vampire the Masquerade, where it's called the Masquerade. Don't go around killing people. You're a vampire. They will kill you if they find you out.
They were even failing at Vampire the Masquerade. Yeah. Like the premise of the game. And I thought
totally
I was going to
right.
be the one struggling because I was the guy that can't pass and has to hide their face. But
You're totally right. The stakes just either
That's
they're
why
not
Disco
like.
Elysium's so refreshing.
There's many reasons why Disco Elysium is refreshing.
Yeah.
Mostly communism.
Like being being the
That matters,
opposite
yeah.
of Ubisoft.
The opposite of Ubisoft. That is a good.
Yeah.
I think that is a good description.
This game's not political. No, this game's extremely political.
It sounds
We're
like a
not
healthy
afraid
way
of
to live
talking
life.
about things. Almost like talking about things is the premise of an RPG.
I also like that it doesn't hold your hand. I saw
No, I died in the first 5 minutes to a light bulb.
Oh yeah, same here. I also
And then-
almost
and
died
then-
to a
Wait,
chair.
what? In Disco
Yeah.
Elysium?
Yeah. If you don't have enough pain threshold when you're with a hangover, it turned the light on, and if you choose to continue turning the light on because your body warned you, then you take 1 health damage, which means
'cause
that if
you
you
have
only
a
have 1 hit
hangover.
point, you die because you don't have.
And then you see
healing.
a failure state that's like a news article about you dying
Yeah.
of a heart attack.
That's great. Those are great.
Yeah,
They're
no,
all voice acted
Andrew,
now as well.
because of the stats I specialized in, Andrew, in Disco Elysium, I had 1 health and 1 emotional health, or whatever.
They're tied to the same stat.
Both of my bars were 1,
Oh,
and I
no,
would
no,
die
those are not,
instantly. I would just die instantly
Wow.
to anything. So I had to have the drugs on hand that would heal you, because what happens in that game when you're dying is that it goes into slow-mo, and you have that slow-mo time to click on the drug to take it to refill the 1 health you have before it goes away.
The first time that happened to me, I was like, "Oh, I can't even believe I could do this," because the game goes in slow mode for like 5 seconds, and you're like, "Wait, I
it
died."
lets you
No, I
save
didn't.
yourself
Click,
when
click,
you're
click.
dying. So yeah, you take psychic damage when your ego gets beaten, essentially. From really sad things happen, like seeing what happened to your car, for example, and then you'll like lose your 1 health of morality of like morale, I guess. And like I think if I don't take a morale drug instantly, I'll like be so demotivated I'll just abandon the case. Is probably what it says in that case. I think I only died of heart attacks or being shot or something. I don't think I
died.
I don't think I saw the morale ending.
I saw the morale ending when I tried to convince Kim that there's a sexy undertone to the crime, and then I couldn't come up with any. I couldn't come up with any good idea, and I felt so bad about myself that I went to live under a bridge shouting at passengers, and that's the game over screen. Yeah, that
game's so beautiful.
Oh yeah, for sure.
God, I came back just to talk to 2 guys in a communist book club for 2 hours in a DLC. That's all that content was. I just found their secret hangout of only 2 remaining members because everyone else had stopped coming, and we just talked about communism for 2 hours.
What I meant by saying it doesn't hold your hand, I mean is it's in the interpretation of the text. Like there's a lot of subtext that isn't absolutely never explained. If you're not keyed into any of the political discourse, if you don't understand the political undertone of the game, or the text itself sometimes not just
Oh
undertone.
yeah, I struggled with the Europe context because a lot of it's about European politics and like it's like analogous to things that I don't always understand.
I think there's some analogies. Did you? This is going to a specific thing. Did you get the impression that the is it League of Nations? It's not League of Nations.
League of Nations is the first time that we tried making Europe stop fighting itself, and it failed
after
because
World
we
War
Then
didn't.
we got the United Nations.
Yeah, and then you got the United Nations, which is kind of working still.
Kind of. No, there's one thing.
It helped that Europe made itself a unified like government. That really helped a lot more than America saying like, "Hey guys, could you stop? We're not going to help, but like just stop doing that," and then leaving.
There's one thing in Disco Elysium that's called something similar to United States, but it's like not united and it's not states. It's like it's different words. But I never.
So Russia.
Yeah, I mean, it could work for both, although not in the political sense in that game. But because they're moralists in the game world, which are like they're liberals basically. They're not libertarians, so they're liberals and they have a world
They're
economic
super centrist.
Yeah. They're the lore is it's the whole thing, and
Not to
I
be
never
confused
really
with the ultra liberals.
yes, those would be the
Liberals.
free market radicals.
Yeah, the pro capitalism can do no wrong. I'm so rich I'd bend time and space.
That's such a highlight for me. That is such a highlight. What a brilliant dialogue. So well written and so insightful.
I got into so many arguments because of that video.
Oh, I never got into any. I said like I went into so much detail. Everybody just left who didn't agree with me when I explained why rich people need people to continue to work.
Gotta bore the annoying people out of life.
Well, I do have a channel about RPGs. Boredom is something that they are very resilient to.
Oh no, you gotta work extra hard.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, but that whole faction, I was trying to. I just now on a second playthrough, am I really figuring it as maybe sort of a not so veiled an analogy to the United States, but I don't know if I'm reading too much into that. There's too many specific details to the lore of the game where it's kind of difficult to see real life political entities in there, apart from Marx.
There's some interesting metaphors to unpack, like how, existential dread is literally devouring the earth.
I don't know. Is that actually the case? It's such a every time they discuss the sort of astrology as astronomy, not astrology, the actual astronomy of the world, every time it's like it's so hazy and weird. It's like a fever dream, the dialogues about that. Are you sure it is literal? Because I know
The voids. No,
I know the lady in the boat.
There's
the
like
lady in the
special
boat
people
talks
that
about
have to
it.
like travel through it, and like they have symptoms and everything.
But are you sure that's not just astronauts?
No, it's on the planet between the continents. It's on the
I
planet
have that impression
itself.
as
It's
well,
not in
like-
space.
What you're saying is like that does ring a bell, and that is how I remember it. But like, I always felt like maybe it was metaphorical in some ways.
No,
'Cause they
there's
say,
a horrifying ticking clock death void just kind of existing on the planet that's going to end everything. Sure, it's not a metaphor for anything that we all like might be always having as a existential threat that builds year to year that we just don't talk about most of the time.
So it was a
don't do
metaphor. I
anything to
just
solve.
didn't. I just didn't get what it was about.
It might be versatile. It might be usable for a few different things, but it's very easy to be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, maybe you like climate change.
Yeah.
It's the thing that no one's solving and is just getting worse every year, and everyone knows it is. But as you can tell, like it is a cosmic scale threat that is horrifying on it more than anything that's actually happening in the game. And the only thing more distressing than that is that there's like 2 people in the whole game that even talk about it. No one even
talks
no one
about
even
it?
bothers. Everyone cares
about
about like
that
everything
thing,
else that's
yeah.
happening in the game. But like,
Who is the other
most
one?
threatening implication of that universe is a thing that almost no one gives a shit about.
That's why I say
Or
maybe
they
it's just.
actively refuse to talk about it because they don't want to engage with the idea because
That's
it's a
why
horrible thought.
that's why I came out of it thinking that maybe it was just either a metaphor or they were wrong. Like, I know one of them is the biggest reason why I might be wrong in my interpretation is that one of them is the lady in the boat. I don't remember her name, but she's like self-admittedly on multiple lines. She shows that she's bad at talking figuratively, and then she talks about that specifically, which means that she must be right. She must know what she's talking about.
Yeah, but then you can talk to the actual truckers and stuff like that. And then, most importantly, if I remember correctly, Kim just passively kind of confirms this stuff despite
Kim
not
said,
engaging it. I think
I remember.
I think
I remember that. Yep.
Kim's usually the person that helps you tell when things are real. And yeah, like it's one of those things where he more or less just confirms it, but also is not particularly interested in discussing it and just moves on immediately, which is what everyone does. Everyone it's like with global warming, where everyone either kind of doesn't want to talk about it because of the fact that it's this horrible threat that just makes them sad all the time, or because they've convinced themselves that it's not a real thing as a defense mechanism.
Or it's because the solutions for it go against their cozy life, and because they need to realize that the profit motive is responsible.
Or
could be that.
Finally, something's going to take care of the trash itself. Good job, everybody.
But it's not, though. The people who are least responsible for it are the ones that are going to pay most and pay first, and are paying right now. Not are going to pay. Forget that are going to pay. They're paying right now. Some of them have been paying for decades.
Nah.
And they have also been paying for the system that has created it. So it's a system that exploits them in the first place, and then it also brings climate change. So it's a double whammy of fuck you.
Nah. I don't think that there will be any solution, and it will.
But there
just
is a solution.
be
We just don't have the power to place it, to make it.
Well, sure.
Because the people with the power benefit from the fact that the solution is unimplemented.
Well, the only nice part is that there's no money in living elsewhere, and there never will be, and there won't be. There will not be enough time to invest to go live elsewhere before it gets too bad here.
Ask Elon Musk about that, and he'll tell you otherwise.
He won't live long enough, so it's not important to him. Like, that's the thing, is like no one who will invest money into it won't live long enough to see the fruits of that investment. So why invest into it?
Well, I think that's just a bad mindset in general, and you're not wrong in saying what you're saying, because that's how they think. But like, if people did everything, like if we did. Not people, just we. As
I'm not saying that it's the mentality people should have. I'm saying
I know. That's what they have. But also, like, it's easy to think like that because that's what the system tells us to be. If there's no benefit to you doing something, why would you do that? But like every single aspect of our lives, even us talking right now, right here, is so largely shaped by the fact that somebody else is having a benefit from what we do, and a benefit that we'll never get directly, which is like when we when we have a conversation with a friend, their side of the conversation, them having a good time talking to us, we never get that because we don't, like, we get our side, but we don't get their side. So what we say benefits them, not us. And I mean, hopefully benefits, unless we're jerks, But obviously we live in a system where we can benefit ourselves with money from being nice and for doing nice things to other people. But I think that's...
You are a good person, and people say nice things about you.
Plus
but
$10,000.
they're also liars, because all humans lie.
Like the fourth reference to Rooster Teeth today.
I've heard you say that before, but I really need to watch Rooster Teeth, don't I? Is it good?
I mean, that's a really broad thing now.
Oh no, I'm remembering. I'm remembering the conversation we had the other day,
which is good for exactly like half a season, and it's not even the first one.
That's worse than Naruto.
No, I mean, Andrew and I both grew up as Red vs. Blue fans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how up to date the either of us are. I genuinely don't know how up to date I am, because they made one a year for so long that I don't even know what season I left off on. They had Elijah Wood at some point. That was weird.
I think that sounds already too far ahead of me. I don't even I didn't
You
even
might
know
have
that
just
happened.
might have just not noticed it was Elijah Wood. I think he played like a core or
Maybe.
something, like Guilty Spark.
Okay,
But
I just know that like I think the last time I left off, everyone was still around,
yeah,
and I think
and I
like
don't
a
know
lot
for
has
sure how
changed.
well I don't know how well the comedy may have aged necessarily. I don't even mean like the oh wow, I can't believe they could say stuff like that back then. But I mean like I don't know if it's still my sense of humor in many cases. But
Yeah.
I've watched specifically, I think it's episode 39, The Best Laid Plans, which was my first episode ever that I saw of the show, just a lot of times over the years, especially back in the old days specifically. But like, it's also kind of a bottle episode where there's like a couple instances of like context about some other stuff that kind of leaks in, but a lot of it is just the absurdness of like, you have the leader of the red team and the frustrating idiot of the blue team for some reason are in what it seems to be a Halo multiplayer lobby of people fighting each other, and so it's a bit of a joke about like these two bases that just keep murdering each other, and then they just kind of do it again 10 minutes later over and over again, like because it's a multiplayer game, and that's like what they are if you take them literally. But also like these two people of conflicting teams just having communication problems and being frustrating. And it's basically just the marathon of Caboose, the infamous character that's beloved, being just obtuse and infuriating every time anyone talks to him about anything. And I loved it a lot when I was like 14, and now it's nostalgic. But yeah, that scene is like, in that moment there, like they need to see through a window, and Sarge says like, Caboose, give me a boost, and then he says that in response. He just gives him like a morale boost. It's like those kinds
That's
of
a good
reactions.
line. I like that line.
It's I think I remember specifically like a lot of the times I actually laughed were always Caboose related lines.
Yeah, and that's like an entire episode of Caboose, so it's just it's memorable if nothing else.
When I was 14, I liked those stick figures fighting with swords, I think. Potentially, I also like that cat with a machine gun saying "ratatatata." Was that animated?
What?
Yes. I'm old. Like old internet
no
is
idea
weird,
what
but
that
that's not
means.
even old internet. That's like 2004? No, wait. Yeah. No, wait, not 14. That's when
I have a really
you were. It's
I don't know if
2000.
I've shared this before, but I have a really embarrassing memory where I did a presentation about Scarlet Letter, I think it was, and me and my classmate, like we were terrified by the fact that the teacher said we were supposed to take up the entire like class period essentially,
Wow.
which kind of turned out to be less
Which is
true.
yeah, it's like 30 miness. Yeah.
It's like 50 minutes. And like, how am I going to take up a 50-minute class period in high school with just us talking about Scarlet Letter, a book I didn't read? Because I got sick of the writing style in the first chapter, and so I just cheated and looked up what happens in it and so on.
I did the same for my
I
assignments.
think it's like one of the only times I ever did that. But that I hated how it was written, and also the moral might have more nuance and interest to me now. As a 30-year-old, there might be something more to it, but at the time, it just seemed to be like this. It seemed like to me as like a 17-year-old that this was just an irritating book about like the moral panic of like losing your virginity and so on. How dare you? But it might be a little deeper than that, but I don't know. I would hope it has more to it than that, because that's a really disappointing book to recommend as literature if that's all there is to it. Like that's the type of stuff we should leave behind. But I haven't read it as an adult either. But because we were panicking about how to fill time, and we also like were afraid to actually present because it's stage fright and all that. I had WoW Model Viewer, and so I had a character model that was like doing gestures, and so I created like a machinima of the lecture of us us doing the like it'd be like us recording the voice lines of all the stuff that happened. Like the presentation, and then it'd play it as a video. It'd be a WoW character saying it for us, but obviously it's hard, it's time consuming and hard to actually animate stuff, so a lot of it was just like a looping animation instead of us, so that was bad on its own level. But at one point, as an intermission to fill time because it wasn't long enough, I just played Best Laid Plans from Red vs. Blue in its entirety. And
like 5 minutes or something.
when it's like 8 minutes long.
Oh
And
my God.
as a moment, as a solution to the problem at the time, it seemed reasonable. But when it was actually happening live, I like panicked and skipped past it midway, like after like a minute of just like realizing how fucking weird it was in reality.
That might have been
and
a
so
good
on.
call. That might have been a
No.
good call.
I had similar moments in college when I would like try to write a joke into like the script of a presentation, and I'm like, I instantly regret this entire plan. I hate that I did this. I hate
It's-
presenting in front of
yeah.
class.
A lot of that sort of stuff is all about confidence in
I wonder how much
execution.
better I'd be now. I wonder if the last 10 years would have made me better at any of that, or if it would still be a panic the moment I'm sitting in front of like 30 people in person.
I think for me, I've always had trouble. I didn't really have trouble presenting if I had a plan, but I always had trouble being under pressure for like questions or for interviews, job interviews for me. Being
Like I just wonder
difficult.
how bad I would shit the bed if I did a panel.
But yes, a couple of days ago, I
It's like,
had a job
oh
interview.
fuck, there's like 200 people in this room.
I think you would be better off because for me anyway. A couple of days ago, I had a job interview and I was preparing for before, and I was just like, "Oh, this is fine. This is totally fine. Just totally fine." When I see the person, it was over Zoom. When I see the person, I'm like, "Oh, this is like just normal YouTube stuff." Not, I mean, obviously not for YouTube, but it's like,
No,
totally
I can't handle job interviews. There's too much stakes. I hate it.
But you do
Drives
live
me insane.
recording Let's Plays.
Those don't have
Yeah,
stakes. Not the way a
Yeah,
job
but
interview
you
does.
forget about them. You forget about the stakes.
No, that's all I think about.
Oh no, that might be an impediment.
Every job interview I've
that's,
ever done has a particular moment or two that replays in my mind forever as one of my greatest shames.
You just need to consider.
It's like the
that-
thing I agonize over, and I don't know if it even played a role in whether or not I got the job, but it's the thing that I just think about over and over and over again.
need to
Like
consider-
when I got my waterboard job, I had a story I wanted to tell about a trip I went on, like the geology, like the big month-long thing, and it was like a story about self-improvement, about how I reacted to a certain thing about feedback, and how I got like this. Like I got recognized as like the most improved grade from one report to the next one over the course of that trip and so on. And I wanted to like weave that into a story that makes me sound like a good employee and all that. But then like the fucking job interview was like wrapping up and it never fit in any moment. So I just started telling the story when they were like trying to like wrap up the interview
Oh,
and
no.
stop it. I got the job.
Good
But yeah,
job.
like I was like, but I was like, no, I needed to tell this story, and I'm like I gotta fit it somewhere, and then I'm like, I could feel that the interview was about to end, and I'm like, oh god, no.
But once you're in,
so
you can't
I just
stop.
made it. So I just made it happen anyway, and I hate myself.
I mean, that, honestly, I think
I-
that takes guts because once you started
Does
telling the
it?
story, I think so. Like, can you imagine? This is like because you have the point of telling the story. Because the moment you start telling the
I-
story, you can't just say, "Oh, never mind. I'd rather not tell it," because that's the worst part. So you absolutely have to just stick with it. That's what I'm saying. Like once you're in there, you just pull it through. That's stuff. That's good.
I don't know. I feel like I treat job interviews much like I feel like I treat job interviews much like a sociopath would treat human situations. You're supposed to be a puppet. You mimicry what they want in a human being. You're
Yeah.
just like, yes, I am committed and happy to be here and will do anything for the job. And then once like you're in the job, you're like, fooled you. I'm a human being and I'm not going to fall down by that.
It's an
And, like-
entire process of lying and nonsense. I hate the theatrics
Yeah.
of it.
That's and so
Yeah.
like I don't really get
Stephanie
nervous
had
about
a job
it 'cause
interview that where they ambushed her because she's normally really good at interviews and so on, but specifically what happened is that they put her in a panel in front of several people and then had not read her resume, and they were just like, you have 2 minutes to answer all these questions, and then it's like, and that was the entire interview, and it's like it was like so caught her off guard because she's like, oh, they don't know anything about her experience or like or like any of the like anything about her, and she's supposed to somehow like try to work that in while also answering these questions in 2 minutes only, and it's like what a weird like off-putting environment. And it's like there's such a shitty dance monkey dance aspect of job interviews where it's just like it's like fucking like legalized hazing where you just like kind of like fuck with people because they have to put up with this in order to try to survive. It's really frustrating.
Yeah.
But
like how many hoops can we make them jump through? We could just come up with anything. Fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, that's on purpose though. Like the idea is that you want somebody who is much like you would with like any kind of cult or anything, you want somebody who is like who's competent enough to do what you want them to do, but dumb enough to listen to anything you say. And so like if a job tells you got to work on the weekend and holidays, you shouldn't go like, wait a second, why would I do that? When am I supposed to have a life? You're supposed to go like, oh yeah, I would do anything for a job. And then, but it's like, okay, but you need to be able to do this job correctly. It's like, oh yeah, I can do, I have the skills to do this, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to stay employed. And it's like, perfect. That's what we want. We want that. Yeah, the stupid dumb brain slug baby. Like
the stakes for my job interview the other day are so high, and when you're talking, like you're right in saying that the stakes are there. Mine were so high, and I wasn't even caring. I was just like completely in the flow of the moment. Like it's the kind of job that will set me up for life, and it's an amazing company. So it's like the double whammy, and I'm just like, yeah, it's totally fine. What what's the
sup? So what's up with you guys?
It's your boy.
My mission is to never do another job interview for the rest of my life. That's the trick.
That is a good
make this work.
Goal.
I would be shocked to hear that.
Either got to make this YouTube thing last forever, or just have a spike in success that's so good that I can just retire.
One of those. The retirement option is the best option.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like forever, as in like until you'd retire at a normal age. But in the instance that YouTube doesn't just last the next 70 years or whatever, as like a website or the concept of a YouTuber, even if you have to top platforms or whatever, if that isn't like a thing that's going to be true,
I'm pretty sure it's going to come to that.
Yeah, like if that doesn't continue to be a thing as a concept, then the hope would be just like, well, hope I got what I needed while I was there and could just call it off there on out.
Yeah.
Honestly, my life feels like I'm just getting away with something, and I'm just going to see how long I can.
That's pretty
some
accurate.
People are so fucking miserable with engaging with how life is normally that I'm like, yeah, I kind of don't that somehow.
Yeah.
And like, it'd be weird not to, given the option. So I guess I'll see it out because it's pretty great. But
and the thing
I don't know how I got here.
I think YouTube also, the fact that so many people do it, it also builds up it's a serious curriculum thing that you can put in your CV. And if you need a fallback plan, it's not just, you're not betting everything is what I'm saying. If anything, you're just building experience where you can get hired for other things if YouTube
I hope
somehow
so, because my geology degree is like useless right now. Like it's a degree in paper form, but it's like not like I have like expertise in my head anymore.
I'm in the exact same place. Exact same place with my archaeology.
With college degrees, it's like, well, it's been a few years, so now it's all gone.
It's like not all gone though, because it shows that you can finish a course, or it's not course. What is it called? Degree.
Every now and then I pepper in a Naturlich into a video, but I don't know that much German. It's gone.
But it doesn't matter.
I took 3 years of it. I took 3 years of it 13 years ago.
It's like I've tricked you all.
We're so old. We're all going to die. All right, we need to wrap this up, though, because I've had to use the restroom for a while. We got a bunch of...
because we were all going to die.
No. We got more podcast questions, and including one that came in while we were recording. But
Thank you.
This was a pretty continuous... This was a pretty continuous series of topics and whatnot. So, maybe next time. See you next time, everybody. Send your questions to dialogchoicespodcast@gmail.com. We get to them sometimes, eventually.
Dialogue poiches.
Dialogue choices.
You were gonna say poiches. I heard you.
At gmail.com.
Thank you.
Bitches.
Get out of here. Go take out the trash like you were asked to do.